you want to go over some of the stuff I have written down so you know?
Hey, man, whatever comes up,
Yeah,
whatever comes up.
that's cool.
I don't keep track.
Yeah, I know one thing I want to touch on is the you had mentioned it whenever you beat Vordell. You wanted to do like a trifecta for Louisiana.
I had the triple threat that I wanted to do. There was the triple threat. I wanted to get the GSW heavyweight title, the Pro Wrestling 225 heavyweight title, and I wanted to get the Elite Championship title all at once. So I started this triple threat thing that I wanted to get, and I wanted to accomplish that. I wanted to see if I could work with the promoters and get my game high enough that I could actually accomplish it. Like, to get the promoters to work with you, but also to be good enough, in shape enough, to build momentum enough. Like, I wanted to try to get those 3 titles all at once.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
I was working all of their events, and when I was working their events, I went to those events as a Pro Wrestling 225 champion. I went there as a champion.
Oh,
and and I didn't, I worked Elite Championship Wrestling, and they brought me in understanding that I was Pro Wrestling 225 champion and that I couldn't be put in a disadvantaged situation. I wouldn't allow them, any promoter, to put me in a bad position that would make the Pro Wrestling 225 title look bad. I'm the only guy in that history of that tournament, of that championship, that brought that title on the road, put it in other organizations. I wrestled all over Louisiana, all over the South, and I never allowed a promoter to bury me while I held that title. Right. That was out of respect. And the promoters respected me enough to say, we understand. And put me in good matches. But I took the title. I take professional wrestling that seriously. If I have your championship, I take that championship that seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Because why would I go to another organization and let somebody get over on me in a way that makes the Pro Wrestling 225 title look bad?
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, I'm gonna kick us off, and then we'll start. I might actually keep with, if you want, with that a little bit.
Just keep it going. Like around. we don't have to do. We already moved it, man.
Yeah, true. You're right. I have to do it on my on the little intro on my own.
Right.
But all right, well let's start with this then for sure. What did you do before pro wrestling?
Before pro wrestling, well, I fought boxing first, and when I was 17, I had my first boxing match, and I didn't know how to box. I just was a great athlete, and I was in Chicago, Illinois, Great Lakes area. I was in the military, just joined the Navy, and they had what they called a smokers event, smokers, where you took your guys who thought they were the toughest and you put them in a ring with boxing gloves, and they just fought.
Oh,
so it was like I had a company of guys that we were all together, and it might have been, I don't know, 100 guys who slept in one big room with double bunks all over, and we were a company. And in that company of guys, we trained together. We had basic training together. And then they had this athletic sporting event at the end of your period of time before graduation, where they put on different sporting events, tug of war, races, baseball games, and they had company-wide champions, So I represented my company in the smokers event, which was whoever you thought was your baddest guy. They all got in the ring and they fought it out. And wow. So I fought like maybe 3 or 4 times and won the thing. And then I went to my first duty command, which was USS Saginaw, and they had a base-wide smokers over there. So I entered that. My ship had maybe 600 men on it. And so I signed up. I was like, okay, I'm going fighting this, And like, I had a couple of officers from the ship. They came in with my corner men, and I just went in and like, I think I won 2 or 3 fights that night, back to back, And then the Navy boxing team had a tryout, and so I went to the tryout for the Navy boxing team. Now, granted, I'd fought probably 6, 7, 8 times up to that point with no training, but I knew what I saw on television, you know. so I went, so I walked into the gym. So I walked into the gym, and it was Coach Hunter was his name, old black gentleman, and he'd been training fighters for 40 something years, 30 years, whatever it was at that time. And I lied to him. I said I'd like to have a tryout for the Navy boxing team. And how many fights have you had? Oh, I've had 30 prop fights, and so he said, okay, well, let's see what you got. So he put me in the ring with this guy, and this guy just, this was a real boxer. Hey, Albert, I'll never forget. He kept uppercutting me, and I didn't know what to do. Right. But he uppercut me like 12 times, 16 times, 25 times, like, and all of my mouth right here was purple. From my bottom lip to my chin was purple and black. And so, but I went 2 or 3 rounds with the guy. I never backed down. He never hurt me, but he just outboxed me. And so when I'm walking out of the ring, the old man goes, Coach Hunter goes, 30 fights, huh? I'm like, I'm sorry. I just had to find a way to get in the gym, you know, like, and he says, be here tomorrow at 5. So then I started training with Coach Hunter, and like, then I started fighting real sanctioned fights at that point, you know. But I fought boxing, and then I found this catch wrestling, submission wrestling gym that had no Brazilian jiu-jitsu, though. It was all American catch wrestling, like amateur wrestling, but with submission holds. So I started training over there, and that's what I fell in love with. That was my thing, but I didn't know anything about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at that point because UFC wasn't introduced till 1993 when Gil Gracie went out there and just did his thing. I had never been exposed to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is the absolute #1 combat sport in the world. It's the best, hands down. If everybody was back to original UFC where everybody had their own discipline, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu would win 95 out of 100 times. Wow. That's how dominant of a discipline it is. But catch wrestling, American catch wrestling, is close. So those two hand in hand, catch wrestling, submission catch wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu are two of the 2 best. You know, that's just absolutely the 2 best. So started doing that, and then I fought these no-holds-barred fights in gymnasiums where they put like 200-300 people, and we fought on the floor, like put gloves on it. No pads. Well, they had this little small, thin pads on the floor, but this was before it was sanctioned. It wasn't sanctioned, and I had 3 fights like that where they were just brutal. Like, there was no rules. I mean, there were no referees. Well, they had a ref, but it wasn't like sanctioned where a doctor could stop the fight. No, you either quit or you keep fighting. Like, it was just
good Lord.
Oh yeah, but that's was
like Fight Club.
It was but that was early. Anybody who fought before 93 will tell you that's exactly how it was. You fought until the other person quit. Mm-hmm. Somebody quit. You had to quit. And people would come and they'd bet, and it wasn't like they were making big money from it. We got paid, but I mean, it was literally nothing. You got paid nothing. I mean, it was just, you want to fight? And I was stupid enough to be like, yeah, I want to fight.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, just show up and go fight, like,
wow.
And then I had this gimmick, where I would, I'd always show up to the weigh-ins with like a button-down white shirt, dressed like a professional, because it gave them the wrong perception of me. Right. It gave them the perception that I wasn't a killer. So I would go the day before, and I always wore a button-down white business shirt with dress slacks, nice shoes, and I always wore that to the weigh-ins, no matter what. Show up to the arena dressed like that because they looked at me and they were like, he's not a killer. These guys were all shaved their head with mohawks. I look like a young professional, That was my thing, Yeah. So I'd get them on the defensive immediately because they all thought that this, I wasn't as ugly as I am now. I was a halfway decent looking guy dressed like a professional showing up at the weigh-ins and the fight events. and they would look at me and they would think, "Oh, I'm going to whip this guy's ass," So they were
Right.
all wearing, they were all hyped up, and I was just calm, cool, and collected. Well, that's they didn't know that I was giving them the wrong impression.
Wow. Wow. That's like the reverse of what people do usually. Usually they'll
Right.
go in there and act like nuts, and
They
it's like,
they
oh
would
my gosh.
scream, they'd scream and holler and hulk up. They would scream and holler and hulk up, and I would just look at them like, and I'd look and I'd be like, "Whoa," like, I was just like, and then it would start, and I would just pound them into the dirt because I had good athletic ability, and I was very tough. Like everything that I did, the one thing that everybody would say is that he was tough. When I played football, the thing they would say is Gil was tough. Played rugby, semi-professional rugby, competitively throughout the country, and they say one thing: he's tough. Like I was
Right.
always the enforcer, the tough guy, and I wasn't big. I was 6 foot 200 pounds. Not big at all. 6 foot 220. Now I'm still not a big guy. I'm bigger than average, but I'm not a big guy.
Right. Right. Well, you mentioned rugby and football. Where did you play football and rugby and all like that at?
Well, rugby. Okay, so that was
Because
another.
that's not really an American. I mean,
Well,
now it's a little bit more popular, but
I played football my whole life.
okay.
Okay. And then I tried to walk on at the University of Virginia when I was in the military. I got um, a scholarship from the military called the Boost Program, where they took enlisted men to become officers. It's called the Boost Program. So, I went one summer. I'm like, oh, I'm going to try to play college football, and walked out on the field and for tryouts and for training. And I know I could have done it, but I had bad knees. The military, from the shipboard stuff and all the stuff that I did, I was with the amphibious navy, and working with special forces and doing things that we did as operations specialists. My knees were bad, so I ended up blowing my knee.
Mm,
So, and then I couldn't really do anything. And back in 90, I guess this was 90, 91, surgery was like it was now. You blew a knee, you tore ligaments, it was over.
oh
You could,
yeah.
yeah. Today it's no big deal. They replace it. It becomes stronger than it was, and guys can come back from it. But back then, you couldn't come back from it. So,
Mm,
so we were overseas. I think we were in Rota, Spain, and every time we go into a port, if there was local military, Spanish military, English military, Egyptian military, whatever, we would play some sort of sport with them, and we'd have a gathering where we drink and have fun. And they said, when we get to Rota, Spain, we're gonna play rugby. And I'm like, rugby. So I was
is
the
that a
ship.
race?
I was the ship tough guy. So like, of course, they invited me to play. And so there was one guy on the ship that knew how to play rugby, and he was like, "Okay, so we're out at sea now, and they're training us to play rugby on the deck of the ship.
Oh,
And it's a big ship. I mean, it's a 600-foot long ship. So we're out in the middle of the sea, water is just, and we're playing rugby on the deck on the outside, learning to play rugby. And we go to this, and then we get in the port, we go to this game, and I'll never forget the only thing that I did. I was just such a great tackler, because I played American football, and I never knew. I didn't learn how to play rugby because it was just they taught us for basically 2 weeks before we got there, and so I got out there and I was just knocking people out with American tackle football, just
wow.
blasting people. And so we go to the after party. Every time you have a rugby game, there's an after party. The team that hosts. So if Baton Rouge plays against Lafayette, in Lafayette, Lafayette has to host an after party where there's food and beer and music. And if Lafayette goes to New Orleans to play, New Orleans has to host an after party. That's a part of social rugby etiquette. You have to have an after party. So we go there, and all these guys are drinking, and they all, understand Spanish. They
Nah,
all,
nah.
you American football, you American football. I'm like, yes, like, because one guy's on a crutch and the other one's in a wheelchair. Like, because I mean, I was just a great athlete. As a child, I was a great athlete. I remember winning in school from like sixth to ninth grade every year, winning most athletic. You know,
Wow. Yeah.
because I was just that athletic, that good of an athlete. And then rugby after that, I just continued training. I played for Lafayette, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans. Moved to New Orleans to play for a while. New Orleans played in a thing called Major League Rugby. So we played. I played a season in that. That was the top, the pinnacle of American rugby. That was the semi-professional rugby league. We played in Charlotte, North Carolina. We played. They had different teams, and then the Major League Rugby is back now. I think they're in their third season after closing down, but it's back again. But it's a little more professional now. They get paid, and But for me
Yeah.
to play in New Orleans, play in New Orleans, they couldn't pay me, but they gave me a job. They helped me find a place to live. All that stuff. So and then played that, and I played on some sort of regional team against Mexico. I played against Italy. I played against Spain. Some,
Wow.
yeah, I did a lot of,
A lot of
but
traveling.
yeah, well, we would travel every weekend to play rugby. We would go anywhere from Colorado to Florida, up to Tennessee, Kentucky. You play all over. And this was a weekly thing. Like when you were a traveling rugby player, it was like every weekend, every Saturday, you played a game somewhere.
Right.
So yeah, that took a lot of time, a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, I could imagine. Well, are you originally from Louisiana, or are you from?
Okay. No, no, no. I'm from Louisiana. I'm originally from Louisiana.
Okay, okay.
The Gracie thing came about because of my respect for the Gracies, and because I had some Brazilian ancestry, but because of my respect for the Gracies, and everybody thought I looked like a Gracie,
Mhm.
I took that name into professional wrestling. And because I was so respectful of the Gracie name and what they accomplished in the no holds barred world. I mean, the original Gracies were just small little guys that took an art form and
And yeah,
developed it into what it is today. And if you don't know anything about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I can tell you that to think of the things they thought about to put into a discipline, a self-defense art form, is on the border, on the line of being a genius. To be able to work on arm bar techniques, knee bars, toe locks. Well, the American catch can has toe locks and ankle locks, but to perfect it to the point where it's not just a big, hulking, strong guy who can do it, but a 120-pound weakling could destroy a 250-pound guy with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just from flowing and having elasticity in the body and using points of leverage. They can fight and defend themselves in a situation. And these guys just perfected an art form, and the family just exploded with it. And they took it from a Japanese art form and turned it into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, their own art form, and it spread across the world so fast. Like I remember in '93, 9 through '95, there was nothing in Louisiana. There was
yeah.
nothing in Louisiana. Then about 2003, the UFC kind of exploded when the Fertitas took over, and then we were fighting with the Athletic Commission in Louisiana to try to get it sanctioned. And people don't know that, but I was there every month fighting with the Louisiana State Commission. MMA sanctioned in the state. They didn't want to sanction it. It was illegal. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I fought for years with that. And then I remember a guy by the name of Rafael Elwanger had moved in, and I think he opened the first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school in Louisiana. He was a black belt under the Gracies. I think he was under the Gracies, or he was under, I don't know who he was under. I don't know where his lineage. I think his lineage started with the Gracies. He was a Brazilian guy who moved to Louisiana.
Huh.
Yeah, opened up a
Wow.
gym, and then he opened up a bunch of different successive gyms and branched out. But yeah, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just the greatest art form there is. That and catch wrestling. Catch wrestling is great too because it's submission wrestling. It's not like the high school sport wrestling, you
Right.
know, competitive stuff. This is real, like chokes, ankle locks, arm bars,
Oh,
but
dang.
it's just a different flair to it. It's a different way of approaching a game, the sport itself.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, you did all this stuff. Well, have you always been like a pro wrestling fan, or did you just
Yeah,
kind of fall into it?
no, I always knew I was going to be a pro wrestler. As a
Oh,
child, I always knew I was going to be a pro wrestler. I never believed that pro wrestling was real or fake. I always knew the game was up. You know, I always knew as a child. Like I always knew that the athletic portion of it, the actual competition portion of it, which most people don't understand, but I always knew I wanted to be a professional wrestler. So I think it was okay. Let me see. I was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I was working out at like a Bally's. Bally's was huge back then. Like there was a Bally's Health Club everywhere. So I
right.
was at Bally's working out. It was like 92. And I ran into this guy by the name of Guido Mongol. He was one of the Mongols with Nikita Volkov. What was his name? What was his name? Volkov with the WWE.
Oh,
Before that
Nikolai.
was Nikolai Volkov was a Mongol with this guy. They were WWF champions.
Oh, wow.
So they were called the Mongols, right? So they split up because Nikolai Volkov he went off with the Nikolai Volkov gimmick, and Guido Mongo found another tag partner somewhere or the other. But anyway, I met this guy, Guido Mongo, at Bally's Health Club, and I practically got on my knees and begged him to train me. And he said no. He said no, I'm not going to train. You're too small.
Yeah.
And so he kind of broke my heart. And then I was like, man, what am I going to do? So I just kept fighting. You know, I just kept drinking. I partied a lot and I fought. And that's what I did. Like, you know, I just like to fight. So I'd fight no holds barred fights. If somebody wanted to fight for money, I'd fight. If there were pro boxing matches, I would. I went into kickboxing and Muay Thai matches and never had any training. I just watched videos and I went and I fought. You know,
Good
and like,
Lord.
you know, and I did that for years, man. You know, and it got to the point where I had like concussions so bad that my brain swelled at one point. And but then I just kept, you know, doing fighting and whatever and playing rugby and fighting. That's what I did. And I moved back to Louisiana, and then I ran into Mustang Mike at a wedding.
Oh,
He was
wow. That's a,
he was dating some girl that I knew, and he introduced himself, and I introduced myself, and he said something to the nature of, "Man, you know, I'm a professional wrestler. You look in pretty good shape. If you're interested, hit me up." So I guess the next week or so, I called him, and I would drive from Lafayette to Morgan City every week to go train.
wow.
But I was just, if I guess if Mike said, if I could say anything about me to pro wrestling, was I was a natural. You
Yeah.
know, I was just a natural to it. By watching it, being athletic, I could do the things that I see on television, and I understood the sport. I understood the activity of professional wrestling. You know, anybody can do the moves. I can teach your grandmother to do the moves. It's whether or not you're able to put everything and piece everything together to make it sensible, you know, to make it meaningful, to make it competitive where you shine. Can you do that without being fake? You know, like that's
Yeah.
the crazy thing about the pro wrestling business is pro wrestling's really not fake, you know.
No.
But anyway, I got trained. I went started training with Mike and them, and then immediately, man, I didn't wait. I was contacting promoters everywhere from Florida to Mississippi to Texas. I was contacting people. Um, you know, good guys in the business looked out for me, like Kevin Northcutt, Dusty Wolf, uh, Stan Sweetan looked out for me. Terry Bryant. Those were guys. Red Dog Rodney Mack. Those were guys that looked out for me, and they got booked on shows. And they would call me and be like, "Hey, we're booked on this show. You want to come?" And I would go. And then I end up wrestling these shows, and they were like, "Man, that guy's athletic." You know, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I could
Yeah.
plan a match from start to finish, but I didn't know what wrestling was really
Yeah. You was
about.
like just kind of green and
I was
learning
green,
as you
and I
go.
was just doing whatever you know, these guys would talk out a whole match from start to finish, like, you know, the whole thing. And it was just, to me, that's garbage. You know, you don't do that. I think, but that's how I learned to wrestle. Like, you know, a 25-minute match, you remember everything,
Wow.
you know, But that's not the essence of professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is a competition between me and another guy. While we're competing against each other, we're also working with each other. But I'm the one guy that I tell everybody before we go out there, like, look, bro, come hard. I'm not. This is a competition, an athletic competition. Okay, everybody knows it. Don't matter. I could try to kayfabe everybody all you want. The end result is scripted. Everybody knows that. WWE has screwed it up for everybody. They got to the point where these guys have no passion. They don't care about the business. All they're out there as far as a paycheck. So they've ruined the business, and these kids see this crap, and these people see this crap, and but guess what? None of that stuff is believable. But what is believable is passion, intensity. Those things are believable. Do you have passion and intensity when you're out there? Are you actually, is there something that happened in that ring, that happened on the fly, that made people say, wow, this is actually a competition? This is not where they talked about everything. I mean, bruh, come on now. They're shooting guys from corner to corner, but they're not even, you're not even pulling the guy and shooting him. You're 2 feet away from the turnbuckle and you just let him go. What guy is going to run the whole way across a fucking ring to the other side on his own?
Right.
Simple things, man.
It's the little things.
WWE screwed the whole business for everybody. They screwed it up. Nobody believes that it's real anymore. But let me tell you something. None of these guys, these young guys in professional wrestling, know how to wrestle. They don't know how to wrestle. Most of the veterans don't know how to wrestle. They don't know that a collar and elbow tie-up is a dangerous thing if done correctly. I can control you from a collar and elbow tie-up. They don't understand anything about any of this. They don't know what an arm drag is. They don't know how to do it properly. Okay, they don't know how to do a hip toss properly. Nobody's gonna bounce off the ropes and take a hip toss.
No.
Okay? All right, come on, man.
Yeah.
None of this stuff. And the thing that I like to tell people about me, and especially with professional wrestling, is when I go out there, people understand that I'm intense, I'm passionate, I'm hitting people. You hear it because I'm hitting them.
Mm-hmm.
And if a guy doesn't hit me, then we have a problem, because I want you to hit me. These people are 5 feet away from you. They are paying for an athletic competition. They are paying for the characters. They're paying for the gimmick, the excitement. They're paying for all of that. So why shortchange them with fake stuff?
Yeah.
Fake stuff. I hate fake wrestling. Professional wrestling is not fake. The end result is predetermined, but professional wrestling is not fake.
Right.
Not if you really legitimately know how to handle yourself. And there's some guys in this business that can handle themselves. There are. There's not many shooters left. There's not many people like me. There's not many people that I can legitimately say, no matter who it is, if they cross the line, they're in trouble. I don't care who they are.
I don't think, and one thing is, a lot of people don't have like the background like you have, like doing the catch can wrestling. I think, did I say that right?
Catch wrestling. It's just it's the old corny thing is catch as catch can.
Right.
Catch as catch can. But it's just catch wrestling.
Yeah.
It's just catch wrestling, submission wrestling, same thing. Brazilian jiu-jitsu and submission wrestling and catch wrestling have a lot of similarities, but Brazilian jiu-jitsu doesn't rely on the power of the individual as much as catch wrestling and shoot wrestling does. It's I can explain it better. Okay, so if I grabbed your wrist and I squeeze and you feel that, that's catch wrestling. That's catch wrestling. If I grab your wrist and all you feel is my hand touching your wrist, you don't feel the pressure and the squeezing, that's Brazilian jiu-jitsu. You will feel the pressure when it's time, but you will not feel the constant pressure. Catch wrestling is constant grabbing, tension, where Brazilian jiu-jitsu is you can control the individual more with fluid movements, not grabbing tight. The top guys in Brazilian jiu-jitsu The top guys in Brazil, you would never feel them grab you until it's too late. And you could roll with them and
Wow.
you could wrestle with them on the mat for 15 minutes. 15 minutes. You'll never feel them tense up. You'll
Wow.
never, they won't never grab you like, "Ah!" They'll never grab you. And then before you know it, you're locked up and you have to tap. Where with catch wrestling and high school wrestling or Olympic style wrestling, there's constant force the
Hmm.
whole time you're participating. Where in
Wow.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's the action and the movement, and then at the right time, it goes from 0 to 10. You know,
Yeah. Wow.
so that's the best way to explain. And but I've trained so many things, man. I took karate for a while. I took that, and then I hated it. It was like, just standing there and doing katas and like what? That don't make sense, like. Maybe in 1930, that made sense, or 1865,
Yeah.
the end of the Civil War, you may have gotten away with karate moves, but like literally, what the hell?
Yeah, it's not the it's every and that's what's one thing everybody thinks that like karate, jujitsu, and all like that's the same, and it's not. Yeah, all of it's different.
No, they're none of that's different. Boxing is different than karate, even though they taekwondo is different than karate, even though they share some of the same things.
Right.
A punch is a punch is a punch. Um, you might throw it from different angles with different meaning on it. You know, I'll tell anybody, my firm belief in MMA is that if you take a boxer, teach him to defend the takedown, teach them low leg kicks, nothing above the waist, don't kick above the waist, teach
Hmm.
them Brazilian jiu-jitsu, give them a boxer with low kicks who can defend takedowns and who knows how to ride and create a top game like wrestling, then you'll know that to me that would make the best professional MMA fighter, who
Hmm.
can ride top game, who can stay on top, who can stay on top of a guy, who won't get turned over, who won't get submitted, can ride a guy out, just rain blows down. The ground and pound has disappeared from MMA, but it is the most effective. If you can defend submission, stay in their guard, and rain blows down on them, they have no chance.
Yeah,
Keep
that's
your
like
hands moving, maintain dominant position. A guy
hmm
really has no chance, especially if you can strike. Now on his back and as a submission artist, he has more options to submit you than
hmm
you being in his guard. But if I keep my hands moving and keep you on the defensive, then I just grind and grind and grind and ground and pound my way to a victory.
right. Let me ask you this because I mean, everybody knows Ronda Rousey. I mean, everybody knows who that is, and it seemed like, and I didn't follow her throughout her whole career. Maybe you did. I hadn't. But I noticed whenever she fought, like when she lost to what was it, Holly Holmes?
Home.
Right. That Holly Holmes background was boxing, correct?
Holly Holmes started with a striking background, but she was in kickboxing, boxing. She did multiple disciplines. So when she fought, uh, okay, so Ronda Rousey was garbage from the beginning.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
Ronda Rousey was garbage from the beginning. Ronda Rousey was never a world class MMA. She was a great submission artist. Her
Mhm.
judo was fantastic. They hyped her and believed her. Her biggest fault was that she believed the hype about herself and didn't understand that she needed to get better.
Right.
Okay, her stand up was absolute garbage, but Dana White and them pumped her up as having the best stand up in the world. That's not true. Her stand up was garbage. The thing that she had was she was very tough. She could
Mhm.
remain, and when she grabbed you, her transition from standing to the floor and her submission, especially shoulder locks, arm bars, her submissions are legendary. Okay,
Mhm.
she was tough, great transition game from stand up to the ground, and her submissions were top notch. But she was never a well rounded MMA fighter. The best women's fighter in the world is Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes is ranked, in my opinion, top 10 MMA fighters in the world, period. not
Wow.
just women. She's the best woman, but she's in the top 10, in my opinion, male, female. She could be ranked in the top 10, somewhere in the top 10. But she doesn't fight like a woman. She fights like an MMA artist. She's an MMA fighter. She doesn't fight like a woman.
Right. And I agree with you. The thing that I thought Ronda lacked the most was like the striking, the stand up in
Yeah, she had
boxing, basically. Yeah.
She had zero. Same thing with like a Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar had zero stand up. But you
Right.
gotta people will talk smack about Brock Lesnar, but you gotta respect Brock Lesnar. From his first MMA fight, he got thrown in with world class competition. By his sixth fight, he was UFC champion. He had fought the best competition in the world. He was a coward. He's a
Mm.
coward and a bully, because you can tell he's a coward because when you stand with him and these guys start raining blows at him, he runs. He's scared of fights, scared of punches. He turned
Ah.
his head, he spun around and ran away. Punches scared him because he's a
Mm-hmm.
wrestler at heart. But was he good? Hell yeah, he was good. He was strong, athletic, a great wrestler, strong and athletic, flexible as I don't know what. If you've never seen him against Kurt Angle when he did that back moonsault
I've
halfway
seen
across the ring, and
I've seen highlights.
Kurt Angle was all the way at the opposing, almost 3/4 of the ring away. 3/4 of the ring away, not halfway. Three
Mm-hmm.
quarters of the way away, almost to the other turnbuckle. Brock Lesnar climbed the turnbuckle. Kurt Angle's almost to the other turnbuckle. He did a shooting star press, and his head hit Kurt Angle's side. He missed him,
Yeah.
okay? But he got that far across at 300 pounds. Come
Yeah.
on.
He's a freak. I mean, that's athletic. Oh, get
I would
out.
like to have seen Kurt Angle in MMA. That's what I would like to have seen. I
You
would
know,
like
that would have been interesting. Yeah.
that would have been interesting.
Well,
You know, I
since
would like
since
to see that.
yeah, since we're on the MMA, of course, I'm gonna ask you about who I'm sure everybody, whenever he decided to do it, was like, oh my God, what's he doing? CM Punk. What did you ever see any of his stuff in
He's a
UFC?
fucking wimp, man. He's a wimp.
I'm with you on that. He had no business
Man,
in
come on.
UFC, no
Well, they
business.
made a little bit of money off his name, which is important for him.
Well,
He
yeah,
trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but not everybody's got it in their heart to be a fighter. I know a lot of guys who are training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu who can submit a guy, but if you put the pressure on them and you put them in an actual fight, all the stuff they learn, they can't put it together, you
right.
know? But when you
Yeah,
put them in a sporting event, in a submission tournament, they go in those tournaments, man, and they blow people out of the water. They'll win a tournament, win 6 fights in a weekend, submission wrestling, rolling around because they're not getting punched or hurt. It doesn't
right.
hurt to do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. It doesn't hurt. It's not painful. You don't have to
Mm,
cover and defend. You defend yourself, but it's not painful. You know, it's not a constant pounding to the body where you're taking brute force and you get fucked up. You
yeah.
know?
I guess it's kind of like that old saying: everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, of
You
course.
know,
You know.
I mean, some people now, a lot of people, it can control that emotion, and that's what makes them good.
There's a lot of legitimate guys in these businesses that I like to cover, which are boxing, kickboxing, MMA, wrestling, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. There's a lot of guys in Louisiana that you wouldn't even recognize how dangerous they are. I mean,
Wow.
some of them are like the size of Wild Thing, but not as buff, but like 120 pounds soaking wet and will submit you in a matter of a minute,
Yeah.
where you can't defend yourself and you're choked out and but you can never tell anymore. You know, it's grown to the point, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, and everything has grown to the point where all these kids are training now at youngsters. Where we got introduced to the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was a grown man.
Wow.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it
So
just
you
didn't
didn't.
it didn't exist.
Yeah, and when we was young, you never heard of it. It was always just karate or taekwondo or something
Right.
like that.
And they
That's
thought
all I can
karate
remember.
guys were the best thing. Everybody, oh, you know karate, you know, like that was the thing. Oh yeah, man, I know karate.
Yeah.
Like, and then everybody was like, "Oh shit, he knows karate."
Yep. I tell you, my dad, he was in the Marines, and he always told me, yeah, karate's great. He said, but get that karate guy on the ground and see what he does. And I'm like,
Exactly.
that
You
don't
get
make,
anybody on the ground. Get a boxer
yeah,
on the ground. Now make no mistake about it. Boxing is the toughest sport in the world, in my opinion.
really?
It's the most brutal. You think about this for a second.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna put a 1 pound weight on both of your fists, one on your left hand, one on your right hand, and I'm gonna hit you in the head 600 times in 45 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Where MMA, I'm going to put a 4 ounce rock in your hand and I'm going to hit you 12 times in 15 minutes. Okay. Now, conditioning wise, they're both on equal level. I've done them both. They're both on equal level conditioning wise. You take a boxer and an MMA guy, both of equal skill, basically, and you have them fight 10 times. The MMA guy is going to win 7 out of 10. Okay.
Wow. Why is that?
Well, because all fights go to the ground. If the MMA guy defends against the punches and wraps, what happens in every boxing match? They get to the clinch, right? They all
Right.
clinch each other. So what happens when they clinch? The boxer's waiting for the referee to separate them. Where the MMA guy is immediately belly to belly, boom, you're on your back, and he's moving into some sort of dominant position. The boxer is not trained in that manner. So as soon as they collide at some point standing up, which they will do, then the boxer is done. Okay.
Yeah.
If the boxer can maintain distance and flip a punch here and there and keep the distance, he can win. But eventually, it's always going to go to the ground. Eventually, with commitment from the other guy who is committed to get the guy to the ground, eventually the guy will be on the ground.
Right.
It just takes an active commitment. You can't get discouraged when you take a few punches. You can't get discouraged when he backs away from you and makes you run around. You can't discourage. You have to commit to the takedown. In any fight, if the guy is a dominant wrestler, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, MMA guy, he'll win most often if he commits to the takedown. That's all he's got to do. Commit to the takedown.
Right.
Don't give.
Whenever you did MMA with having a boxing background and jiu-jitsu background, whenever you did MMA, what did you lean more towards?
Oh, I'd lean more toward boxing. My Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has gotten really good now at this point, but I've been training for so long. But when I was fighting MMA, I didn't have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background.
Oh, okay.
I trained a little bit, and I trained a little bit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and wrestling, and then I had a good coach. I had a guy by the name of Josh Ortigue that worked with me for a year or two, and I learned a lot from him. And he was a great coach. But I never committed to being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy. I just like to fight, So, I learned over time as I've gotten older. I learned the absolute beauty and dangerousness of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But it took a while. I had to learn respect for it because as a boxer, you always thought that boxing was the greatest sport in the world, greatest, most toughest guys in the world. And they are legitimately the toughest guys in the world. They are.
Yeah,
but
standing up toe to toe, just using.
But it's not the most effective art form.
No.
In a real fight, it's not. A boxer in a real fight, if the other guy doesn't try to take him down, the boxer can win all day long. But if a guy on the other side is committed to the takedown, the boxer's done.
Yeah.
The boxer's done. The kickboxer's done. The Muay Thai guy's done. The karate guy's done. The Taekwondo guy's done. They're all done. All of them. They're all done.
Wow.
And one other sport that I think judo is up there too, because judo is the transition from stand up to takedown, and it has submissions in it, but it's not as effective submission wise. Once the judo athlete is on the ground, the match is over.
Okay.
That's the point, is to get the guy off his feet.
Yeah.
So the most beautiful and the best transition sport in the world is judo. So boxing stand up with low kicks, a guy with judo who can transition from stand up to the ground game, and then a guy who either is a great ground and pound wrestler or a guy with excellent BJJ. Those are the three tools to being a great MMA guy,
Wow. Yeah,
That's as simple as it needs to be. It doesn't
yeah.
have to be anything else.
Now, do they have, in your opinion, do they have anybody out there that is like the perfect mold?
The perfect, oh, I mean, they all lose, man. They all. I know so many guys that are just top level MMA guys, and then on any night you can lose.
Yeah.
I got a friend of mine, Dustin Poirier, who had, I trained, not trained him, but I trained in the same gym as him when we were young. When he was young, I was still old. I was promoting. I put him on my fight cards as a promoter. He was a great young fighter. He's a top 10 fighter in the world now from Lafayette. And he's got all of the tools, but at any point, something can happen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes time to winning, he fought Khabib. He fought Khabib last year, and he was just as good as Khabib, but Khabib had one dominant thing: his wrestling and his ability to stay on top with his wrestling and outwork a person. That was the one thing if you don't have one thing that everybody's scared of, then you have nothing.
Wow.
You have to have one thing that everybody's afraid gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Khabib, if you can, the one thing everybody's afraid to get grabbed by him and go to the ground. Because he's a mauler, he's a bear, he's that mauling type of fighter that just works inch by inch, inch by inch. There's no stop. His conditioning is world class. There's no stopping him. He's coming, he's coming, he's coming. So they're fearful of that. But when you look at other fighters in the world, they don't have that one thing that everybody's afraid of.
Hmm.
That's the difference between the good and above average and the world class will be remembered forever.
Wow.
That's
Is
the
it
difference.
is it because they might focus so much on what they're afraid of and get caught with something else,
No,
or
I don't think it's that. I think it's that everybody has one natural thing that is their strength. Most guys train to be well-rounded in everything. So when you look at the top 10 MMA fighters, there's not many that you can say they have that one thing that everybody is afraid of. Chuck Liddell was garbage. But Chuck Liddell won because he had one thing that was legendary. He had a straight right and a left hook that was legendary. And if you got hit by what he threw, you were done.
wow.
He had that one thing that everybody just was afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
You get hit by him, you were gone. You were done. Like there was nothing you could do about it.
Yeah.
He became a legend.
Huh.
He had that one thing that everybody was afraid of. Khabib is going to be a world class fighter. He's going to be a legend because he's got that one. You can't let him grab you.
Right.
You can't let him grab you. You know. So I mean, that's all the philosophies of Gil. Which matter, which don't matter in the world of things that really don't matter.
You'd be surprised. I'm sure some people it matters too. Never
Well,
know.
some people like to hear me talk. I mean, I have an ability I have that type of ability. Some people do like to hear my philosophies.
You do have the ability to talk, but the place that you don't talk a lot, but whenever you say something, boy, it just freaking fires them up. It's in the ring, in the wrestling ring. I mean, I haven't been following Pro Wrestling 225 except for it's been about a year now. So like my first match I ever saw you in was the steel cage match with Vordell Walker.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't remember you talking a whole lot during that one. I remember whenever you came out though, I was taking notes and doing a review and stuff because it's just what I was doing at those times. But whenever you came out, I knew, and I think everybody else knew, like, oh wow, who's this guy? Just the way you present yourself, the way you look, the way you act, your mannerisms, all that. From the time you walk through that curtain till when you get in the ring, it's like, okay, this is a guy we need to watch.
So let's think about this for a second. Let's go from the first match on a card, a 225 card, all the way to the main event.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to be intimidated by? Who is going to give the perception of being a professional wrestler? There's not many of us.
No.
Okay.
I mean,
so no matter what I do in the ring, People, when that barricade is between me and them, they might talk a bunch of, but they know in their heart of hearts, they know in their heart of hearts that they're not going to whip my ass.
Right.
They know it. So I believe that I have a natural ability that from a young wrestler, from the beginning, I had this ability to do what I do today, but it's just through experience that I've been where I'm at the last 5 years with professional wrestling, where I can wrestle anybody in the world and not be lost, like not be lost in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that has come with hundreds of matches, 20 years, hundreds and hundreds of matches where now I have the persona. You're not going to mistake. You could put me in the opening match on an AEW card. And I promise you that when the night is over, you're going to look back and, man, we got to see that Gil guy again. Okay.
Right.
Because I am a professional wrestler. I'm not a sports entertainer. Those guys are playing wrestling.
Right.
They're play wrestling. So do I act, exude, do I do the things necessary to be perceived as a legitimate shoot wrestler, a professional wrestler, and that's everything that I do. Okay? So my personal opinion is as soon as you drive up to the arena, you have to be a certain way. You think Tom Cruise gives a fuck about what they're saying about him on the blogs?
No.
But every one of those wrestlers, all of them, y'all can name names, they're all in there, and somebody writes something bad about them, they respond. Okay? Or they go on each other's Facebook feed and they talk back and forth to each other. I don't respond. I don't play those games. Now when I do cut a promo, I'm cutting a promo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But I'm not going to go into into Vordell Walker's news feed and Vordell says I had a great match this weekend against Gil Gracie, and then I'm going to go and say it was an honor wrestling you.
Right.
That's, to me, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't dislike Vordell. I want to outperform Vordell every night.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't dislike Vordell. I don't hate Vordell. But when I'm out there, when Vordell hits me at a 9 out of 10 level, I'm hitting him back a 10 out of 10 level. Nobody could ever say anything about me and Vordell's matches except they're real. Okay?
Yeah.
You hear the things happening. You hear the pain. You hear the punches. I broke ribs with Vordell. Vordell's been injured. We've gone at it. I like it that way. Vordell likes it that way. But we don't. But reason why our matches are so good, I think we've wrestled three or four times in the last 2 years, is because we understand the other guy is that he can do what he needs to do to get his point over.
Right.
I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to tell him to lighten up. I'm not going to tell him to slow down. I'm going to keep going. Vordell's an animal. Make no mistake about it. And I'm going to do everything in my power to keep him under control.
Look, that cage match was wild. I was glad to be there. I'm glad that was like the first ever, and that actually was the first ever independent wrestling show I went to. I didn't even realize independent wrestling was in Louisiana. And yeah, I've been a wrestling fan.
That's how I was when I first went to my first independent show. I didn't know that it existed.
Yeah, and I brought my daughter with me, and I'm telling her the whole time, look, babe, this is not, I don't know what this is going to be like. You know, these people, there's not going to be this. There's not going to be, people's not going to know who these guys are. And boy, did I have to eat some humble pie whenever I get, she's like, Daddy, I thought you said that they wouldn't be that good. I'm like, I was wrong. I was so wrong. I'm like, not everybody blew me away. Don't get me wrong. But like the people that were supposed to did.
Right. And you have to earn your position. You have to earn your way to a main event spot. Some guys are giving it to them because they have a certain look. Like they might be 6'6" and like, you know, built like a brick crap house, and they might be put in a position. But if they can't handle it, if they can't perform, they're going to go back and become a gimmick wrestler. Like, you know, they're not going to be a professional wrestler. They're going to be a gimmick type wrestler where, you know, their job is to maybe make the crowd laugh, or they might go in there just to be an enforcer. They'll never be the weight of a company put on their shoulders. You know, the Pro Wrestling 225, those guys trusted me to to carry the title with respect. And I respected what they do enough to care every minute of the day that I was the champion and to portray my championship as being a world title.
Yes. And you
Okay?
did. I mean,
And
100%.
I did that. I carried the mantle, and I did that for 3 years, however long it's been. And and I feel that that was the honorable thing to do. If
Yes.
if a company owner says, Gil, we're going to make you the champion, let's see what you can do with it. Excuse me. I think it's my responsibility to do the best I can to portray that company in the best light, to make the title as meaningful as possible, and to give the company as much respect and recognition and exposure as possible. And
Hmm.
I did my job better than anybody's ever done it over there.
Oh, I gotta agree with you 100%.
I'm the best champion they've ever had. I'm the best heel that company's ever had. I'm the best champion they've ever had. And I'm not the best wrestler. I wouldn't think that I'm the best wrestler, but I'm the best champion they've ever had.
I'll
There are
give you
guys,
that.
there are guys who are better wrestlers than me, but they can't outperform me in the ring.
Right.
They might be better sports entertainers than me and do all this fancy. They're like, they don't. I mean, I'm not the best professional wrestler, but I know what to do, when I'm supposed to do it, how to do it, and I know where to get my reaction from the crowd. I know when to punish a guy and smash him. I know when to shut him down. I know when to give him an opportunity to do something. I know when to work with him, and I know when to work against him. You know.
Yeah.
So, and that happens with experience. There's nothing else. Like I was telling you the other day, there's most wrestlers you never hear of. You take a Dusty Rhodes, Rick Steamboat, Ric Flair, Barry Windham, no matter who you put out there, look at early matches of Bam Bam, Terry Gordy, and you will see one thing. In the first 2 years, none of them knew what they were doing. If there has to be a benchmark for when it really clicks in professional wrestling, I would say for those guys who were working 200 to 250 nights a week, it happened around the second year mark. So that's about 500 professional wrestling matches where it finally clicked and they started getting pushes. Most guys on Pro Wrestling 225 will never see 200 matches in their entire career. And they wonder why it doesn't click for them. Or they wonder why they'll never be in the main event. Or they wonder why. And most of these, I've had the luxury of being every organization I go to, I'm close to the main event or in the main event. I've been lucky, but that's been hard work.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not like you got this overnight. I mean,
No,
how
it's
long
been
you been
hard work.
wrestling?
I've been wrestling a long time. Like I told you, I don't even remember when I broke in. It was either maybe 2000, 1999, maybe 98. I don't know when I broke in, to be
But
honest
then
with you.
before that, you was doing other stuff
Yeah,
too.
but that
Yeah.
doesn't help professional wrestling. That
No.
helps me. Yeah, that would help me defend myself in a match that, goes off the rails.
Right.
But that doesn't help you in professional wrestling. You really have to eat some humble pie and understand the business of professional wrestling in order to make it work and
Hmm.
make it meaningful to the crowd, and to accomplish anything in professional wrestling. You got to eat some humble pie, and you have got to be willing to work with people, and you got to be willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn, if you think you know everything, you'll never be anything. You'll end up being like a Luke Hawks who goes out there and uh who put some time in the business learning, but went and opened his own federation. They'll open their own federation because they can't get booked anywhere, you know. But I mean, and again, I shouldn't be throwing his name out there, but whatever.
I don't know really. I don't know much about Luke Hawks. I didn't even know of Wildcat Wrestling. I mean,
Well, he's doing a great job as a promoter. I'll give him that. But here's the problem with him promoting. He has an inferiority complex that exudes itself as superiority. In other words, he's got such a powerful inferiority complex that he's not good enough, that he portrays himself as being superior to everybody.
mm,
When in essence, he's just inferior in his own mind. Okay.
hmm
I offered Luke Hawks $1,000 to go to his gym. I was going to drive to his gym. I'd offer him $1,000 to fight me and prove who would be the best, who's the toughest guy. because I told him specifically that that image that he puts out to people is bullshit. Okay. And
Right.
I said, I have $1,000. I will drive to your gym, and we put on the gloves. No. I said, I have $1,500. I will drive out there. You don't have to match my money. All you have to do is fight me and let me film it. $1,500, and he wouldn't do it. And I've got witnesses. His guys are witnesses. Mustang Mike's a witness. The referee David Petrie is a witness. They were all there when I said it because he thought legitimately that he was the toughest guy in wrestling. And I told him I have $1,000 that I will drive to your gym, and you put on and the only way it ends is if somebody quits or gets knocked out.
Right.
Okay. He said no. I said, okay, I've got $1,500. You don't have to put up any money. Just let me film it. Just let me film it.
Mm-hmm.
He said no. And
Wow.
he would never do it. But he swore that he was tough. He was a tough guy. He's not a tough guy.
Wow.
He's not a tough guy. Now, don't get me wrong. Okay. At the same time that I say that he did what I did when we were younger. He got on the road. He paid dues. Paid dues. Here's the one thing that Luke Hawx is doing that professional wrestlers are supposed to do. Here's what he's doing right. He's working. He works everybody.
Yeah.
And in essence, professional wrestling that's the essence of professional wrestling.
Yes, it is.
He does it well. And he's training guys that are good wrestlers. He is. I just wish he would be a little more accepting, because I don't dislike Luke Hawx. And I don't know why we got in the conversation with Luke Hawx, but I don't know. But I don't dislike Luke Hawx. I think Luke Hawx has done a lot of good things for Wildcat Wrestling, and he's wrestled a lot of different places. But he creates this superiority complex that gives everybody a bad taste in their mouth. The guys in Louisiana, Texas, everywhere, we all try to work with each other. And
right.
I've been fortunate that I've wrestled all over the United States. I've taken some time off. At one point, about 4 years, I took off. I've wrestled all over. But I had a family. I wasn't going to sacrifice time with my kids and my family to go for personal gain that didn't equate to money immediately. In other words, I'm not going to go pay dues financially somewhere and have mouths to feed at home.
Yeah,
Luke Hawx went on the road, and Luke Hawx paid a big price to become Luke Hawx. He did. He was a small guy back then. He wasn't very big. He's put on some weight. He works hard. He's a good wrestler. He works hard. If there's the only thing that bothers me about Luke Hawx, so I'm gonna say all the great things about. He's a hard worker. He's got a great company. He trains guys well. He's a good wrestler. He's paid his dues. So if he or his friends watch this, understand these are all the great things that I say about Luke Hawx. But the one thing that I can say is that he's abrasive. He's abrasive, and it's because he has a superiority complex. The origination of it is he's truly feels he's inferior, so he has to go out of his way to make other people feel that they're inferior to him.
Wow.
And he does that by his actions, by what he says, by all the stuff he does. Now, if he were to get rid of that superiority/inferiority complex and be more accepting to people outside of his Wildcat circle and understand that wrestling is for everybody. Professional wrestling is for everybody. Because if it wasn't, we would have never had the missing link. We would have never had Dusty Rhodes. We would have never had midget wrestlers. We would have never had guys like Junkyard Dog. They're wrestling. Professional wrestling is for everyone. Some guys are gimmick wrestlers. Some guys are the fat boy wrestlers.
Yeah.
Some guys are the main event caliber guys like a Luke Hawx. Not everybody can be Body Donna beautiful. And, wrestling is legitimately for everyone. Where a guy like Gorgeous George can come in with the curly blonde hair, be be undersized but make the most money in the world, it's because professional wrestling is legitimately for everyone.
Yeah.
As
I'm with
long
you
as
on that.
you abide by certain rules and you do your job, professional wrestling is for everyone. And everyone has a place because at no point should a fat guy like Dusty Rhodes have ever been a world champion.
No, he should have been like nothing.
Right, right. But, and so if any of his boys are watching this, or even if he does watch it, he's done. So if we rank 10 things he's done in professional wrestling, 9 of them I'd say are good. There's one thing that's bad, and that's his attitude to other wrestlers. He's abrasive,
Mm-hmm.
and those type of people I have a problem with.
Yeah.
You know? I respect what he's done in the business. I respect what he's done. I mean, I really do. Now when we were face to face, I think the last time I saw him was at a Saints game. I was very nice to him and his wife or his girlfriend or fiance, whatever she is, because I there he's not a bad dude. He's just abrasive, man. Like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. Like, don't be a child the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, in my opinion, has a place in professional wrestling. Now, there's some guys, I don't believe certain people should be promoting wrestling, being a promoter. I don't think that you should put the title on. Everybody doesn't deserve to wear a championship.
No.
But everybody has a place in professional wrestling because if they can find their niche, and if they find their niche, they could be successful by finding their niche. They might be the stinky kid in the classroom that sucks his thumb. That could be his niche, and that can make a lot of money. He could be the fat boy who can dance, and even though it's embarrassing, it could have a niche, and it has a place in wrestling because it's first and foremost it's entertainment. I hate that aspect of it, but all sports are entertainment. All sports.
Yeah. I can
All
see that.
sports are entertainment. So those people can be the ones that get the crowd behind them, that makes them think that anybody could do this, that every man is possible. Not everybody can say that they're going to be Gil or Luke Hawks or Mustang Mike or Vordell Walker, but they can say that they're going to be that undersized guy who's fighting for everything that he sees. So everybody has a place. I don't like that kid Marco Stunt from AEW. Can't stand him.
Is that which one? Oh, is that Pockets?
No, that's Pockets. I don't like him either. But but the other kid, he's with the Jurassic Park people. The bush hair, real small.
Yeah.
I don't believe he should be in professional wrestling. Well, saying that kid Marco Stunt, I think he's an embarrassment. But there is a place for him in the business. And it's not going over on people. It's not winning matches. It's being, like there's a place for everybody in this business. There is. And I don't like people who are abrasive and feel that they're holier than thou or above everybody. And because you don't look like this or don't act this way, you shouldn't be in the business. Everybody has a right. There is a place for everyone in the business of professional wrestling. I hate Joey Ryan. Hate it with a passion. Hate what he does. Okay? But he has a right to be because it's entertaining. Now, I don't like the dick flip and all of that. I don't like it. I wouldn't do it. There's a limit to what I would do. I'm not going to do it. Okay? I don't believe doing opening matches for the WWE as an independent wrestler is good. I think it's detrimental to your... Now, these guys take pride in going out there and getting beat up by superstars. If I'm the Pro Wrestling 225 champion, okay, and I'm in Louisiana, I live here, and they come to Lafayette and Baton Rouge, why would I take their paycheck to go and get smashed by one of their stars? I've turned down WWE. I've turned them down to be enhancement talent. I've turned them down because my image and what I do legitimately is too important to me and Louisiana in whole. I'm not going up there. You're not going to pay me $700, $300 to go and get smashed by some rinky-dink wrestler who's really just a sports entertainer.
Right.
But all these guys will take that paycheck just to say they wrestle for WWE. Well, I can tell you one, I've turned down offers to be enhancement talent when they've come through. I've done that. And I'll continue to do that because WWE couldn't. The only way I would ever work for WWE ever is if I worked 1 or 2 days a week and they pay. No, seriously, I'm not
Yeah,
working
no,
five.
I'm here.
I'm not wrestling 5 days a week. I'm not staying away from my family that long. I'm
Right.
not. I'm not. My children are more important than some bullshit career with WWE. No amount of money matters that much.
Mm-hmm.
But why are 99% of professional wrestlers in failed relationships, drug addicts, living at home with their parents? Why? Because they walk this line of being a professional wrestler and they live this bullshit life that has no legitimacy in anything. And they'll sell themselves out for a $40 paycheck. Like professional wrestling is just an industry of failures, man. Like they failed at life, so they become successful professional wrestlers. I mean, legitimately.
No, that's true. That's I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it that way, but that's definitely, yeah, you're
You
right.
know, that's the truth. That's
How
all
many
it is.
rich? How many? I mean, for example, I mean Ric Flair. Look how many failed attempts at marriage and stuff he's had.
Oh yeah, just
You
life
know,
in general. Just life
yeah.
in general.
It's
You know,
a lot of people don't realize that it's a big price to pay, and like you just said, it's a profession of failures.
that's all it is, man.
Yeah, I
Failed at
mean,
everything in life, and then wrestling was their last option.
and that's what they succeeded at. But what did you really
But
succeed
and
at?
then how? Yeah, and then how many of them were just genetically gifted? That it really wasn't them that put them in that spot. A lot of them just know how to play politics. They know what to do. Like I'm not politically inclined. I don't play politics. I'm going to be myself, but I'm not
Hmm.
abrasive. I'm not abrasive. I try not to be abrasive.
Right.
But I'm going to be honest. I'm trustworthy. I know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's one thing. I mean, look, I've always been one, and I get that same vibe from you. The times we've talked a little bit here and there, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, of course.
And that's just the way I was raised.
And there's no
It's
ulterior motive to what I'm doing or saying. There's
no,
no ulterior motive. And if I say it, I believe it.
exactly
I'm not trying to work anybody.
right.
Okay. This interview is a shoot interview. This is where I feel. This is what I feel. You want to
Hmm.
know my thoughts about somebody, all you got to do is ask, and I'll tell you. And I'll
Hmm.
tell them the exact same thing. Okay.
Exactly
And I'm not trying to be abrasive, but but there is a way to tell the truth without hurting other people.
right. You
See what I'm
just
saying? Like
yeah,
you can be as truthful that as you can, but when does that ever help the other person? You can still be truthful to the other person without hurting their feelings.
yeah. I'm with you.
Okay?
It's the way
There's
you deliver it.
it's the delivery that matters more
Right.
than anything. And the delivery matters more than anything.
Yeah. Like if I go up to somebody and go, man, you freaking dress like shit and you talk funny and you're a piece of crap. Well, yeah,
Right.
that's not the right way to do it.
Or if I go to the person and say, "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" And then you bring them over to the side and you say, "Listen, you want to be a professional wrestler, you need to dress a little better. You need to talk a little better. You need to be a little more respectful. And this is
Hmm.
just to help, trying to help you." Or you could call them out in front of everybody. Man, you're fucking dressed like shit. You can't work, and you know, what? So that would put them and hurt their feelings, put them in a bad position, have people looking down on them. Yeah, I
Yeah.
told the truth. I told the truth in both cases.
Right. It's just the way you delivered it.
It's the
One,
delivery.
it's respect. It's respect. And you show
Or
somebody the respect that you want to be shown.
see, you're missing the whole point. It's not that. It's how much respect do you have for yourself?
Yeah, you're right about that.
See, you're
You're
missing the whole point. It's not about do I respect you or not. It's whether or not I respect myself enough that I don't have to make myself look better by calling people out or do I
yeah.
respect myself enough? Am I comfortable enough in my own position in life that
Hmm.
I can pull someone on the side, tell them the truth, or do I honestly am so intimidated in my environment that to draw attention to myself, I'm going to call somebody out and make them look like crap?
So you think you're making yourself look better. It's if you don't have confidence in yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't, yeah, that's exactly what it is. You don't
Yeah.
believe in yourself. It's a whole thing. It just has to do with confidence. It has to do with whether you want to be abrasive. It has to do with your belief in yourself. And we're both telling the truth.
It's the delivery.
But
Yeah.
all of that comes from within. It has nothing to do with whether I respect you or not. It's whether I respect myself.
Yeah, because and I get you on that because I've talked to a lot of people I have not a whole lot of respect for, but depending where I was at, and I could have went up to them and just said, "Look, you're just a piece of garbage." But instead, I might avoid them. I'll say hey to them, shake their hand, "Hey, how you doing? Good, nice talking to you," and then walk off. Now, I'm
Right,
not gonna walk off and go tell somebody, "Man, that dude's a piece of shit." No, I
right,
just walk off and keep my mouth shut. You
right.
know, I don't have nothing to say, and that's it. Now, one thing that I definitely, if I'm gonna say it behind your back or behind their back, behind somebody's back, I'm willing to say it to their face too. 9 times out of 10, I've already said it to their face
Right.
before I've said it behind their back.
But don't
And
you
that,
feel guilty when you something slips, like you say something you shouldn't have said about somebody? Don't you
oh
feel
God,
guilty?
yeah, I do. I got to
Like,
say that.
yeah. And
It's
that's the mark. That's the mark of whether or not you're actually growing as a human being, you're growing as a person, whether you actually respect yourself enough to be, where if I've made a mistake and said something that I shouldn't have said, then I feel guilty and I have to, I replay it back in my mind often. And I'm
yeah,
like, man, I shouldn't have said that. And then I'll go up to the person and say, man, I said something about you to somebody I shouldn't have said. I
right.
need you to understand. And I just blurted it out, and then I'll find myself doing that. And
Yeah,
that's
oh yeah.
because I've grown as a man and as a
Mm-hmm.
person, and that's what matters to me.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. It's and I wish more people would be like that, but that's almost a loss on some people. I mean, I've tried to raise my kids to, this is how you act and stuff like that. But a lot of people out there, they don't even think like that anymore.
No, they don't care.
Yeah, it's just like,
But that's this
and
whole society we're in, is the me, 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 me society. Your
you're right.
kids are being raised right now and they're learning here's the thing. Okay, my kids, your kids. When you look at the amount of time we spend with them, they're in ulterior environments the majority of the day, even though they're with us. So let's just think about this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Monday morning, you wake up at 6 a.m., you get your kids ready, you leave the house at 7, you drop them off to school. They're with outside influences from 8 a.m. till they get home at 3. If they have practice after that, they're with outside influences until 5 o'clock. You pick them up at 5 o'clock from practice. They go and they do homework, and then you share dinner with them, and then they go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
So they're with you in that 24-hour day. They're with you 10 hours, but only one meaningful hour,
Right.
where their outside influences are with them for the majority of that day. So
Yeah.
your kids are always in outside influences for the majority of the day. Then, while they're in those outside influences, everything that they're doing online is selfish. Their whole life is an exercise in selfish activity. Their whole lives, whether it be Instagram, TikTok, all of that
Oh
is
God.
building all of that's building selfish people. It's about me, 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 me. And I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any worth. I have no worth unless I have a bunch of people liking my stuff. So
I
my emotional well-being is attached to these people liking what I do. And so
right.
for me to feel that short burst of high, that short burst of feeling worthwhile, I have to continually put out new dances and sexiness. No,
Oh God.
seriously.
No, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I was laughing because during the quarantine, I actually discovered TikTok. I didn't even know it existed.
Right.
Somehow I discovered it, and as soon as you said dances, for some reason popped in my dang head one of those ridiculous freaking dances they do on there, and I'm like, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Now, how many people died from jumping out of their car and doing that dance? I forget what it was called.
Oh, I didn't know nothing about that.
The passenger would get out of the car while the car was rolling, and then they would dance. How many people
What
got
the
hurt doing that? Yeah. So the person driving the car would film the passenger jump out of the car while it's rolling and dance at the same speed as the car is moving, would dance along with it, and they would fall and hurt themselves, break a leg, an
freaking
ankle.
run
They,
over?
they stupid shit happening. I forget what kind of challenge they called it, but
Oh
every
my
day there's a
God.
new challenge. What about the one they were burning each other with hot water? Like, it was just stupid stuff.
Are
Oh
you?
man. Oh, yeah, I'm not joking.
This is yeah. That's
Right.
uh, uh that is nuts.
Right.
Nuts. And I thought some of the stuff I did as a kid was crazy.
Well,
They've
yeah,
done.
but at least it was just, I
Yeah,
mean, I mean, it
this
was
is
a
a whole
right,
new
it was,
level nowadays.
yeah, it's a whole new level of stupidity.
Yeah,
But
it's like
most of these kids don't have a man in their life.
you're
They don't
right
have a
about that.
positive man in their life, and both sexes, male and female, both have to have meaningful, strong men in their life that stand up for something that can teach them the value of certain things. And as men, we have lost our way, and that's what's going on in this society. And it's a direct reflection of men leaving the families or not committing to families and not committing to their children.
And
That's
and
hundred
when you
percent
yeah, and when you say this now, my mom and dad divorced when I was 2. Okay, but however, my dad was always there. Even though they wasn't
right.
in the same house, he was there. So, I mean, I don't take it as okay. You have to stay married and raise them together. You can co-parent and not be in the same house. In
But
in my
it's not. Yes, I believe
in
that.
my opinion, yeah,
I believe
it's
that
not the same. It's not the same
not
as
the
both of them
same.
being there by no
Now,
means.
I agree. It just makes it harder, but the man has to be committed more when they're both outside of the home. He has to be committed.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, well, we can go on for days about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'll tell you one thing while we're still, what really blows my mind is growing up, I always remember of hearing the father or the man, the one that leaves. He just leaves.
Right.
Nowadays, to me, it seems like it's a flip of the coin now.
Well, that's
I've
because,
heard of the mom or the wife leaving and just never hear from them again, or the dad. It's like what,
well,
or both, or
but it's
both.
still the ones that are doing that. It's all a whole generation have never had any familial atmosphere in their life. They were
Yeah.
either raised by their grandmother or their mother.
Yeah.
Seriously, none of them have men in their life. They don't know what a real man is. They see them. They see them all over the place.
Yeah.
And I could tell the ones that don't have dads at home because they'll attach to you so quickly.
You know what?
And you
You're
could tell the
right.
ones that don't because they'll come and they see a real man and they want to be around them, and it's a draw and an attention getting thing. And they'll show you and shower you with so much attention as a child because they don't have a man in their life.
Yeah.
You can see it. You can see the little girls.
It's sad.
You see the little girls walking around and trying to make eye contact with you as a grown man.
Hmm.
Those are the ones that don't have a meaningful father in their life. But they're trying to make eye contact with you, and you're like, "You little dumb bitch! You 12 years old, like
What the hell?
looking at looking at a grown man in his face."
Hmm.
Stupid stuff, man. You know?
Yeah, it's the world. The world is I don't envy my kids at all what they have to face coming up. I've said that a million times. I don't look. I know they had problems with the times I grew up in the '90s and stuff like that. But man, what they're facing nowadays is just a total different.
But it's all relational. Think about it. It's all relational. When my parents were okay, so my parents were born in 1945. So
Hmm.
by the time they was 1960, they were 15 years old. The problems that they faced at 15 were the end of the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the next 10 years later, those people who at 15 were facing a different set of problems, that was the end of the world. So for us, looking at what they're going through now, they're going to go through it just like we did. They're going to go through it with a breeze. We're the ones having trouble with all this
Yeah, we're
stuff.
the ones like, oh my God, it's the end of the world.
Right. And then they're going to think when they have, it's all relational. When they have
Yeah.
kids, they're going to think the same thing. This is the end of the world. It's
Yeah.
all relational. Don't get me wrong. The problems are increasingly getting worse and worse. But
Yeah.
the people living through it and experience it feel like it's normal. It's run of the mill. For us, it's not normal because we saw the good times, what we
Yeah.
consider the good times.
Yep.
Okay,
Oh yeah, I
that's
try to
what.
tell my kids about the good times. And like, what was so good about that? And I think my dad telling me about what his good times were, and I'm thinking that wasn't that
Right. Well,
great.
they did a study, and one of the studies was what problems affected high schoolers and the teachers' ability to teach them. So one of the biggest things in like the 50s, 60s, whatever it was that chewing gum in class was a big problem. You know, like that was a big problem to them teaching kids chewing gum in class. And I don't know
So
what year.
horrible.
Yeah, and now you're like, what about teenage pregnancy, drug
Yeah,
use,
I mean, chewing
violence?
gum. Heck, could you please chew some gum? I mean,
Yeah, like I'll take that problem any day as a teacher, you know.
yeah, yeah.
But
It,
anyway,
it's crazy. Yeah, we done gone from
oh
let's
yeah,
see, we done
let's,
gone from wrestling to
right.
jujitsu to now uh
Well, let's get back to wrestling then.
yeah, Gil
You said
philosophy.
yeah, that's the world according to Gil. No, I mean seriously, it's a wonderful thing,
I
It's a
think
wonderful
I
thing.
think that should be the name of a podcast for you,
All right.
possibly.
Yeah, the world according to Gil.
Exactly, exactly.
It's a fantastic idea.
Well,
So
we talked about what you did before pro wrestling. What did you do? I mean, listen to me. What did you do? Who trained you? Who broke you in? I know you said Mustang Mike. You met him, and
Mustang
he
Mike,
trained you.
Billy Battle used to run a promotion called in the International Championship Wrestling or Independent Championship Wrestling, ICW, something like that. Well, Billy
Mhm.
Battle was the company guy that owned the company, and he had Mike invited me to a show that they were on, and he helped break me in on his shows and featured me on his events. But Mike uh, got me into the gym for the first time, and Mustang Mike and Psycho Mike helped me learn some of the basics. And then every week when there was a show, I would go early and work out with the veterans like Dusty Wolf, Stan Sweetan, Rodney, Kevin Northcutt back in the day. Any guy that I could pick their brain, I would go up early and work out in the ring. And I would
And
beg people to work out with me and teach me. And
how
so
often do the young guys do that now?
very seldom,
Wow,
very
really?
seldom. It's an insult to them to go and work out and learn something and get and be embarrassed. You know, like it's that's another thing with this new generation. Embarrassment's the end of the world to them.
Oh God,
Being embarrassed is the end of the world. You know,
wow.
but these
You
young,
learn more from failure than you do from succeeding.
but they don't see it that way. They just wanna do that pre-choreographed. Every time something happens in WWE, I know exactly what move is coming next. I don't watch it because there's no spontaneity. Because when a guy gets bumped one, two, three times, when the guy who got bumped, what's he gonna do next? Think about it. He finds his way to the corner.
Yeah,
The other guy charges him. He gets a boot or the moves out the way, and then it's all the same match
over and over.
every match.
Wow.
And the reason why WWE sucks so badly is because it takes the spontaneity of the moment out.
Yeah.
They know every move before they go out there. They don't have any free for all, free flowing moment in the match where they can be individuals.
Hmm.
They can't on an interview, they can't just get what's my motivation? What's the point I'm trying to make? Oh, you're talking about wrestling him at WrestleMania and how you're gonna beat him. Okay, that's all I need. And then I go and I'll fill in 2 minutes of interview time with just that. Oh
Yeah.
no, you're gonna talk about his mama first. Then you're gonna talk about this. Then you're gonna go from there to here. And then they gotta memorize all that whole complete interview because it's given to them by one man.
So it's
So
like
how
a script.
it is a script. They write scripts for everybody.
Oh wow.
The whole show, you never been backstage. The whole show is a script from
No,
top to
I've never been able to go backstage from on.
yeah. The
I
whole
don't
show
I
is
don't go
from,
backstage because I just don't feel like I belong there.
that's understandable.
Does that
But
make sense?
the whole show is scripted, and they actually have call outs in the day to talk about each segment and how they're going to act during those segments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole thing is called out. Where you got
Now,
guys like
is that
back in the day.
everywhere, or is that just WWE? Is what you're talking about?
That's WWE mainly
Oh,
because Vince McMahon is an egomaniac that has to have his finger on everything, including what the wrestlers say, what they wear, how they act among each other. Don't get me wrong, man's a genius,
oh yeah, you gotta
but
give it to him.
the business has passed him by.
Mm.
It's time for him to move out, move away, and let the business
I don't think that's
regress.
gonna happen until he dies.
Well, the business has to regress in order to go forward. So it has to go backwards. So it has to regress in order to go forward because all this scripted stuff and all this, it's just all this wrestling, the major leagues of wrestling is just cosplay. It's all
You're not the
cosplay.
only person I've heard say that. I was actually listening to an interview today with John Saxon, and I think he said the same exact thing you just said.
Well, John's got a great mind for the business, and good minds think alike because it's just cosplay, man. It's a
Yeah.
bunch of kids playing wrestler, playing wrestler.
Yeah.
You know, John Saxon. I had talked to John in a while. He can wrestle. He can wrestle.
Yeah. He actually did an interview with Bryce Boudreaux on the Experience. He
Oh,
did
Bryce is doing them too. Doing
yeah.
interviews too.
He's
How's his
doing
podcast going?
his podcast seems to be going good. I enjoyed it. Everyone
I
I've
think
listened.
I think one of my interviews was like the most watched interview of his little thing. I don't know if
Oh,
it was him and some other guy had a.
Oh, that was he doesn't do it with him no more. This is just Bryce by himself, which it's really good. He's had Tim Storm on there. He's had some guys I've never heard of. Bryce reminds me of a wrestling encyclopedia. He remembers stuff that I didn't even know ever
Well,
happened.
well, let me tell you about certain people. Certain people belong in the business because they're respectful. They have a good mind. They know their role and they play it. And Bryce is not rocking the boat.
Yeah.
He knows his place in this business and he understands that and he does it well. And he's not abrasive. He's not, he fits in and he goes with the flow. He's got a good uh great voice on the mic and he's doing a great job in ring.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to come into his own as he gets more and more experience. He's going to come into his own in this business, whether it's as an announcer or a booker or a backstage guy. He may never get in the ring and wrestle, but at least he'll have a place in wrestling locally because he's learning. He's minding his business. He's doing what's productive. He's helping companies. He's doing a great job for companies. He's helping companies out. So the kid's
Mm-hmm.
doing a good job.
Yeah. I don't have any problem. Do you know how old Bryce is?
Uh-uh.
How old did you think he is? Just take a guess.
23.
22. Well, you're close, but he just turned 22. I
No,
thought he was a lot older than that. I
no,
mean,
fuck you, Gil. You said 23. No, Gil. No, he's 22.
You don't know shit, Gil. You don't know
Yeah,
nothing.
he's 23, man. You don't
Look,
know
this
nothing.
interview's over. You don't know anything.
He's 22. Man,
You said 23, and in my mind, I heard like 26.
how much closer do I have to be? Like,
Look, we want perfect, damn it. Perfect.
and then you come out like, 22. What?
I told you, man. I do this by the seat of my pants. I don't know. I'm horrible.
Like, what?
What you see is what you get. I mean, look.
It's just your expression, like, man, no, he's not 23, he's 22.
Don't ever. Well, at first, I was thinking, I was like,
Like
was
he
he
was gonna
even
shock me
21?
or something. Like he was gonna shock me, Dude, I'm a year off, like it was gonna shock me. It's not like I said 40, like I said 23 and he's 22. Like I'm supposed to be shocked that I'm wrong,
I need you to be on point now.
Yeah, like what?
Well, I'm thinking back of a time we was at Hooters and I got a drink and they actually carded me. Believe it or not, I was like, "Wow, this is cool."
Right.
Here's my ID. Well, they carded him and I was like, "Man, it feels great to get carded." He's like, "Man, I'm only 21," and I was like, "What?"
Really?
I'm like, "No, man, I thought you was like almost like in." It's just the way he acts because he acts older than what he is. To me.
I don't know if that's the case for me. I don't know.
Well, a lot of this is the crazy part. You know a lot of guys that I know, but you know them in a different way. Also, if you think about it.
What's that? What do you mean?
Like you know them as them coming up in the business.
Oh yeah. Well, I just
backstage.
have more different experiences with them,
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. Yeah, definitely. But so we're gonna go back to where we was at just a minute ago before we veered off again.
Right.
So Mustang, the mics, I think is what they used to call them.
Yeah,
Mustang.
they helped me get into the business. Mike and I have had a feud from the moment got into the business. Once I got experienced enough to where I could work him and those guys in the main event, Mustang and Mike and I have had the biggest. I mean, it's been an ongoing feud for the majority of our careers, and we sell a lot of tickets in Houma, Morgan City, Bayou Vista. I mean, we've packed the buildings out as main event.
I would
People
even say
want
Blackman.
well, wherever. I mean, people want to see. We've had a long history. We've had some really good matches. Mike's a pro, man. Mike knows where to be, when to be there. You know, he's not going to do nothing, out of his wheelhouse. He's not going to experiment with nothing stupid. He's going to do exactly what needs to be done to get the match across,
Right.
And then I'll do the same thing. And when you got two guys like that, I mean, we've packed the house and tore the house down many times, but Mike helped me. I went and trained at the guy, Billy Battle's house. He had a metal building outside with a ring in it, and we trained over there. Trained twice a week, and I drive from Lafayette to Morgan City, and I train and learn and for a couple of hours, and drive back to Lafayette an hour away, and do that every week for I don't know how long.
Yeah. So you train once a week, pretty much.
Once or twice, it just depended.
Yeah.
It just depended. I didn't train for a very long time before I was in matches.
Right.
I didn't train. I was a natural. I mean, you'd have to talk to Mike and see what their perception of me was when I broke in. But I would have to say I was just a natural, And I was respectful. I minded my business, man. I talked to everybody. I learned. I think I had the right attitude to learn, you know. And then when I broke in with these guys, I mean, you had all the big stars of yesteryear were still hanging on, like One Man Gang, Brutus Beefcake, Sabu was in the locker room, Bam Bam Terry Gordy, Junkyard Dog. I mean, bro, I could go on and on. Like, all the stars of yesteryear, were still working territories.
Right.
And guys were still bringing them in. And I got to dress in the locker room next to those guys and be in the locker room with those guys. And I remember Kevin Norcutt told me one of the biggest bits of information I ever had in wrestling. And Kevin Norcutt told me, from this point on, don't go sit with the rookies, sit with the veterans so that you look like you belong in the locker room. And he told me that. And every locker room I went to from that point on, I find the top guys and I go sit with them. Don't get me wrong. I walk to everybody and hang out.
Yeah.
But I always found the top guys and sat with those guys and kept my mouth shut and listened, ask a question here or there. But one of the things he told me is stop going with the green guys. Start when you go to a locker room, find the veterans and go sit with the veterans.
Wow.
And that was one of the things I won't forget about him that he told me. And I don't know what Kevin Norcutt's up to anymore, but he was a good big man. Ooh.
And
Kevin Norcutt, good wrestler.
And how many times does a new guy come sit by you?
Never. They're scared.
Why are they scared?
They're intimidated. All these guys are wimps, man. No, they are, man. They're cosplay guys, man. They just, I mean, they don't ask questions. They don't come ask you to work out with them. I used to go in the locker room and ask guys to work out with me, like, man, can you help me? I'm trying to work on a few things. Can you come and watch what I'm doing and train with the green guys in the ring? And I ask the veterans to come to the ring and come watch me and coach me.
Does anybody ask you to watch their match?
No, not. I watch every match regardless of whether I'm the main event or not.
Right.
So I watch.
I know you film. I know you film everything. I've seen you set the camera up several times.
I film everything. I probably got 500 matches in the can from years of. I film every show that I'm on. I film every match, and I've been doing that for years. I probably got I got so many matches. Like
Wow.
I'm gonna catalog them all, you know. But
You need to, man. That'd be awesome, I think.
I've got tons of stuff that I have to find all the hard drives. I have all the hard drives somewhere in my garage. I'd have to find them all and start breaking them down because I've got tons of video footage, man.
Yeah. Well, I know. I've asked people before for something. They're like, "Well, man, let me hold on. I'll get with Gil. I know he has it." I'm like, "Oh,
Right.
okay." And the next
Yeah,
thing I know, it
I
comes in
film
my
every
email.
show. I
Yeah.
film every show, and I don't make them all public because I want to give the organization the option of making it public first. You know, I don't want to, but once they make it public, then I'm okay. You know, but
Yeah.
I'll film them and hold on to them. If I don't see it online, I'll never release it. You know,
Right. Right.
because I think that's just for being respectful. You know,
Oh yeah. Where did you get the nickname Mad Dog? I've
man,
been wanting to ask you that since I think I met you.
I just came up with that about 3 years ago. I remember Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. I always liked the way he worked. And it's just this, I had never really given myself this nickname that mattered. I always was Gil the Thrill Gracie. And that was just
Gil the
cheesiest thing.
Thrill.
Yeah, that was just
I didn't even know
cheesiest
that.
thing. That was the cheesiest thing ever, you know? And like, I
That don't
always,
go with you, man. That don't go
and
with
no,
you.
but it did when I was a young guy, you know? It did when I was
Okay.
younger. I was a high flyer. I was skinnier, high flying, pretty
Oh
boy.
wow.
Yeah, you know, I didn't really mean to be. It's just
You was
that's
a
who I
pretty
was.
boy.
Well, yeah, I was a lot younger, you know.
You're like, I'm sorry, I had to jab you on that one. That was
But you know, just and then I guess I've been gone from wrestling for a while, and I started training with Booker T and working his shows. And I'd
okay.
go there and I work with Booker shows every month. We had a monthly show; it was televised nationally, and I worked over there. And then after that, my run over there was over with. I just needed a gimmick change, you know. So I was like, I always liked Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. So I thought Mad Dog Gil Gracie would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And it exploded. Like it literally exploded,
Yeah,
you know.
it definitely.
And instead of doing all the stupid stuff, the high flying and running around and doing all this stupid stuff, I just turned into a brawler, you know,
Yeah.
where I would wrestle a little bit, but it was always something that looked legitimate. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
fake wrestling. It was real wrestling in a brawler's mentality, you know. And then I was 220 pounds, 6 foot 225, somewhere around there. Had good size, and the Mad Dog gimmick was a good heel gimmick, and it prolonged my career because for the first time I began working heel with Booker. And when
Oh.
I was a heel with them, it just made everything so much. I really learned how to wrestle. I really learned how to wrestle 5 years ago.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
That's when it clicked because I was working every month. I took time out from the wrestling business. And my kids were young, so I took time out. Probably 5 years I took off, didn't
Mm-hmm.
wrestle, and then I came back and I went. One of my first matches back, I wrestled for traditional championship wrestling when they had that TCW show in Arkansas and Missouri. They were doing big things. They had a TV show, and I worked for them. And then I called Booker up. I called his manager up, and I said, "Listen, I'm getting back into wrestling. I'm coming to try out for you guys." So I drove to Houston. Booker was there. He had seen the movie that I had out. He saw my movie. So for him, he was meeting a celebrity. And for me, I was meeting a celebrity. Like
Wow.
I was meeting Booker T. And Booker T was like, in his mind, he was meeting the guy from Fightville. I don't know if you know that. We have a movie made about us.
Well, I was looking up some stuff and I was trying to find you on the thing, and all I knew of is Mad Dog Gil Gracie.
Right.
That's it. So I look, and that kept popping up, and I'm like, man, that's not Gil. That can't be Gil. I'm not even gonna click on that. Well, now that I'm talking to you and you're telling me Gil the Three, I'm like, well, damn, that was Gil.
Well, yeah. And we had like, so when I met Booker, you know, it was like I had a tryout match with one of their guys, and it didn't go well. It didn't go as well as my matches are now. Like it went good,
Mm-hmm.
but he was like, "Man, you got a lot of talent. Blah blah blah. Let's work with you. Can you come in on this date?" And I said, "Yeah, man." I said, "Well, what I'll do is I'll drive every couple of weeks. So every second Thursday, I would drive to Houston and train. And then once a month, once every 4 Saturdays, they would have an event, and then I would be on the show, And
Mm-hmm.
so I learned a lot from over there. And then when I came back to Louisiana, it put me on a different level, because I was working with those guys that could really go, that were trained
Right.
WWE style. They were
I got
trained,
you.
they were trained to get a match over in 10 minutes. If you can't get a match over in 10 minutes, why are you out there for 20? Like, it don't make
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
So I learned to work at a different way,
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing that helped me click was being in WWE's environment, because Booker T, he trained the Usos, he trained so many different guys that went into his organization and broke out from there, that he was training guys, and he had some good guys he could count on, that when he wasn't there, they would give the knowledge that he gave them. And
Mm-hmm.
so every 2 weeks I would go, and that's how I think that's what really, it just clicked. And when I came back to Louisiana full time, everybody was like, man, what happened? Like, it clicked, it was just, I was on a different level, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So, um, but I don't say it conceited like that I'm that good, but people tell me I'm good, like, so I do something right. I don't know what it is per
Oh,
se,
you
because I don't want to be that
I don't
guy
think it's
that's,
just one thing, Gil. I don't think it's just one thing you do right. I think it's several things you do right.
but it clicked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. The fans are telling me that I'm one of the best, and so they're telling me that. So I'm doing something right to portray who I am as a wrestler to them. I'm
Exactly.
not saying that I'm the best wrestler there is, because I don't think I am. I think I do my job,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I know what I'm doing. But the fans, I'm always having what they consider match of the night. They're saying it. It's all over the internet. It's being spread around as this match is this, and I've wrestled so many different guys, and they've all come back as great matches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, and I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary, man. I'm not doing anything like, I'm just wrestling. I'm
Yeah,
keep
and
I'm keeping it simple.
yeah, you do the you. I guess the I can always go back to this, and I will till I'm sure the day I die. You do the little things perfect. You do the big things perfect, but it to me it's those little things. Like, for example, I've seen you in the ring, and you'll have a guy down, and all you do is just give a look and like an evil smile,
Right.
and bam, that to me that's like, wow, okay, he just, and then I'll listen to the people around me and kind of watch, and I'm like, he has them in the palm of his hand right
Hey,
now.
I think if I had to I have to pinpoint my attribute as a wrestler, I think my timing is what I would consider my
Hmm.
best attribute, my timing. Like, knowing when to slow it down, when to provoke somebody in the audience, when to, pick the pace up, when to slow it down, when to punch a guy, when to kick him.
Hmm.
So timing is everything. Knowing where to be, footwork, timing is a big thing. But I'll tell anybody, there's the only thing in professional wrestling that you should be concerned with. There's only one thing as a wrestler you should be doing, and that's creating a memory. That's the whole thing about professional business. Wrestling business is about creating memories. If you're not creating memories, you're doing yourself a disservice. Everybody remembers. If they've seen me wrestle, they remember one of my matches for something.
Hmm.
They may not like me, but they'll remember the red elbow pad. They'll remember the steel cage, me coming from the top. They'll remember the brawl with Vordell in the audience. They'll remember something. I cheated Mustang Mike. You did this to Christian Blake, but everything has a meaning. So I try to create a memory every time I go out.
Hmm. You
Unfortunately, some
do.
memories aren't as good as you would want them to be, but I try to create a memory. And I
Yeah.
think that's the whole business. Anybody tells you professional wrestling is this. No, professional wrestling is the business of creating memories.
Yeah.
That's
That's
all it
that's the
is.
best I've ever heard it said, to be honest
That's
with
all it is.
you. Yeah. Because I mean, I still remember stuff from my childhood that I watched, like Ricky and Macho.
Right.
I remember what caused it, and all the way to the blow off at WrestleMania 3. You know,
Right.
but it's
Series of memories.
yeah,
That is
exactly.
all professional wrestling is.
No,
We're in the
yeah,
business of creating memories, and none of these guys realize that. They'll do the same thing every night. Same thing with no passion, no intensity. And if I could say anything about the big leagues of professional wrestling is that they lack passion and intensity.
yeah.
There's
I
no
think that's
passion,
gone.
no passion for the business at all gone.
Yeah,
All
it's sad. It's
after
really sad.
Kurt Angle's gone, Chris Benoit's gone. Let's start. We can name all the top guys in the business at one time. They were passionate. The
Hmm.
Rock, Stone Cold, Triple H, uh, uh, Kurt Angle. I mean, we could Chris Benoit. All these guys were passionate.
Yeah.
They were passionate. You could see it in their passion and intensity in the ring. These guys don't give. They don't leave their heart in the ring anymore. They'll try to
Mm.
get. They all want to have match of the night. Don't get me wrong. They want to do all this stupid stuff and get these crowd popping. But which one left it all in the ring? And these guys don't leave it all in the ring anymore. Like, you know,
They want to hear chants, is what
they
they want to
just
hear.
they want to be something that they're not, and
Yeah.
they don't know the essence of real professional wrestling. The business has lost its meaning. You know, it's all cosplay now, dude. It's all cosplay.
Yeah, I hate to say it.
It
You're
is. You
right.
know, anytime that you got a man wrestling a woman, you know,
Oh God, don't even get me started
I'll
on
never
that.
I'll never wrestle a woman
Thank God.
because it just makes you look bad.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
professional wrestling. You're doing sports entertainment. There's a difference. So at any point that I become a sports entertainment entertainer, then I'll wrestle a woman or a 12-year-old or
Or a
uh
guy that
uh
puts his hands in his pockets.
yeah, at that point all you're doing is sports entertaining. You're not professional wrestling. I don't believe in the term sports entertainment. I think it's professional wrestling, and I think
Yeah.
a- as a real shoot worker, a shoot grappler, I believe that the business of professional wrestling is lost, but it needs to come back. You know,
It God does it. I'm with you on that for sure.
you
Well,
know.
where you're mostly where I see you at now, I mean, wrestling wise, is mostly I've seen you well, of course, Pro Wrestling 225. I've seen you at GSW, but
Uh-huh.
that's really all you're at right now. Where else are you
I,
wrestling right
I
now?
I'm wrestling twice a month for those organizations. I'm not going anywhere else. I
Okay.
don't. I'm not putting time on the road. I'm not paying dues anymore.
No,
No, no. I'm not traveling, driving to Florida for a $200 paycheck. I'm not doing it.
no, no, not at all.
I'm
Not at
not
all.
because all of that's going in gas. I mean, I'm not, no, I'm just not doing it.
Right, right.
I'm not doing it.
And
I'm not paying dues. I am not going anywhere. I don't need to pay dues. All I need to do, anybody needs to do is take Louisiana and mold it into a territory that can draw 5, 6, 700 people in whatever little area they go to, and
mhm,
consolidate this territory with a television show, and you have a business that's viable.
I'm with you. I'm
That's
100%
it.
on that. Yeah,
So
we have the fans that I mean, I didn't believe it until I went to an independent show, but these fans are passionate. The fans
it
that come
is,
to these shows are
but
passionate.
you got to have somebody, and I don't have the time for it. I could do it, but you got to have somebody to consolidate everybody working together. In other words,
Who?
so so you got the mics, they can work their shows GSW in that particular area.
Mm-hmm.
Pro Wrestling 225 can do their shows. Teddy Nall can do his shows. But we film them all and we put it in a cohesive 1 hour show that promotes the next event that's coming up. And we promote those events that are happening and we put them under one consolidated umbrella. So, in other words, Louisiana Championship Wrestling presents Pro Wrestling 225.
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana Championship Wrestling, the flagship show. This week we're featuring Pro Wrestling 225. So those particular organizations under that Louisiana Championship Wrestling umbrella, that weekly show, get promoted and creates an identity for those people, helps them.
Yeah.
And it can happen. And the easiest way to do that is those open access channels in each market
Mm-hmm.
You put a free 1 hour show on each one of those markets. Because where do you live at?
I live in Livingston, right outside of Baton
That's
Rouge.
what, Baton Rouge. Okay, so Baton Rouge has an open access channel.
Okay.
Okay, they have to. Every major city does. In Lafayette, it's called Acadiana Open Channel, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where people produce their own stuff and release it to the public. Okay, every major city in Louisiana should have an open access channel, and then you promote that 1 hour show every week on that open access channel. People will watch it, and you take footage from each organization and you promote it, and it helps their live event. And pursue it. But before you know it, you have a viable, tangible business product. You
Yeah.
know, it's not hard to do.
What do you think? What do you think prevents that? Egos or?
Egos, pride. Nobody wants to lose control of their own little organization. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and you won't. You just coordinate with everybody. All you're doing is trying to have one television program that promotes everybody
Right.
and helps grow the business. And then you can use the same guys in each market. Once you build once you build Louisiana Championship Wrestling
Mm-hmm.
and you build that program, then people are going to show up because every week they see these wrestlers. So if they're in Lake Charles and they see these wrestlers every week on TV, now they get to see them live.
Right.
And then you got to challenge these wrestlers to stop being friendly with the marks. You can't be
Mm.
friendly. Tom Cruise is not being friends with everybody who says something nice about him. He could care
No.
less. You know what? You know why he's getting the big paydays? Because he creates a level of separation. He puts himself on a pedestal above everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put yourself on the same level as these fans, these marks, why would they pay to come and see you?
No. Yeah. I mean, because you're a wrestler, just like a movie
We're, sup-
star.
we're supposed to be on a pedestal.
Right. Bigger than life.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
once you lose that aura, once you lose that aura, once you bring those people into your personal life, it's over.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with
That's
you on
it.
that. Yeah.
And all these guys can't wait to have people like them. They just want people to like them so badly.
Wow. Yeah. I never really thought of it that way. Well,
But
what's your do what?
I said, but anyway,
Oh, okay. What's
philosophy.
yeah, Gil's philosophy. What's one of your favorite towns to wrestle in?
Ooh, favorite towns. Man, I like Morgan City
Yeah.
because I like that building. They have the overhang at the top, and
Yeah.
they're always so passionate. They're always good crowds. You know, the mics drew so well in Morgan City. They put a lot of, people don't realize that. Yeah, Mid South Wrestling and all these places, Mid South worked in Morgan City. They worked at the auditorium. But the truth now, if you look over the 20 years or so that I've been in the business, these guys drew more, like the mics and all these shows that they did over time have drawn more numbers than Mid South Wrestling did. Because
Really?
Mid South Wrestling was a fast thing. It was a flash for 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they were packing the house with 14, 1,500, 5,000 people, the mics have been doing shows since I broke in where they were drawing 500, 600 people a night for 20 years.
Yeah. So
Like,
the longevity.
like legitimately, the only difference today is we won't go down as legends. We won't go down as legends, even though with the fans, the professional wrestling fans, they'll always remember us. But we
Right.
won't have documentation like all these TV shows and magazines. That's the only difference. We're
Yeah.
still wrestling some nights in front of 700, 900 people, but
Oh
we
yeah.
won't ever be those legends. You know what I'm saying? These
Mm-hmm.
guys were legendary because of the feuds, because they had one territory, one guy running everything. They didn't have to worry about all this other stuff. They had TV, they had magazines, they had a sense of kayfabe. Now everybody looks at it, and you'll never be, even though I've had a long career. I've been in main event after main event that have drawn good numbers, in Louisiana, good numbers. I'll
Mm-hmm.
never be a Louisiana professional wrestling legend. Mad Dog Gil, like
You
you'll
never
hear this,
know. You never know.
but I mean, you just, Junkyard Dog. Junkyard Dog was
I
a
don't think no.
horrible
Yeah, no.
wrestler.
Yeah, he couldn't.
Horrible wrestlers.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
he had that charisma though.
he has so much charisma. And
Yeah,
then they
but
had a television show that made them bigger than life.
right.
So what is it, or what are we missing? Only one thing, a weekly television show that makes everybody bigger than life.
Yeah.
You
If
know?
if only if only everybody could get together and work together. You
It,
know,
it can happen. You just have to have a level of respect and give everybody the equal amount of time, and you promote everybody's show with
equally.
equally. You promote everybody equally. You promote all, and and if they're not main event guys, if they're not promoting, they're not pushing to the last two matches of the show, I'm not going to put your opening guys show on the TV. It don't make any sense. It's not making you any money.
Right.
It's not drawing you anything. You put your main event and your semi-main event on there, and you promote those angles. You have guys cut promos and send them to you, so you
Hmm.
can put them on the event, on the show. You don't allow them to put it on the web. It has to go on the show, so you
Hmm.
limit exposure. you know it's a way to do it, man. There's a
Yeah.
way to do it.
The only I wonder. This is the thing I've always wondered is there's not. I mean, there's a lot of independent wrestlers, but what I'm learning, and tell me if I'm wrong in this, please. It's not that many though that go from show to show. Like I see the same people at 225 as I see at GSW. Uh, Unfortunately, I've been to Oakdale once, but it's like the same people. Do you think that's a problem that it's the same people at each show and nobody's like under a contract to where you can say, hey, look, I don't want you releasing nothing. Release it. Send me all your stuff like for promos and everything, and let me put that out there.
I mean, you can legally. I'm sure there's some sort of legal way to do it, and a contract would have to be. You'd have to put a contract out there. Like, you can't record your own videos. If you do, I have a right to sue you for X amount of dollars. And the guy
Hmm.
signs it. That way he can't release his own videos of the show. There's a way to do anything. You can make a legal agreement between where a wrestler can't work on my show unless he agrees to these type of things and he signs it. And
Yeah.
understand there's a $1,500 penalty. I will take you to court and put a lien on your property if you release video of my event. And you
Hmm.
can do that. I can do that. Anybody can do that,
Yeah.
you know. But wrestling's not consolidated. Look, with the progression of the way everything is going, the next phase of professional wrestling is a return to territories. That's the next phase of professional wrestling. It
Wow.
has to happen. It
Yeah.
has to happen. That's the next phase of professional wrestling. Territories. Guaranteed.
It would be. I'd love to see that happen again
That's the
because
best thing
that's.
for wrestling.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Uh, you said you wrestled in different states. What about different countries? Have
I
you?
never wrestled outside of the country.
Okay. Okay.
I've
What
never wrestled.
states?
I had an opportunity to go on a tour. Dusty Wolf put together a tour. It had like Ming, the Barbarian, a bunch of guys. I had an opportunity. It was a Malaysian tour. I had an opportunity to go, but I got sick at the time that I was supposed to be leaving for that tour and never made it. I was going to make an overseas tour a
Right.
long time ago. And it was a Malaysian tour, and I've seen pictures of it. It was very successful. I was going to be a nobody, but at least I was going to be on the show. Like,
Right.
literally, I had guys looking out for me back in the day. And somebody had fallen out, and Dusty needed a guy, and he called me, and I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I probably had a week or two before the tour had to leave, and I was sick, so
Hmm.
I couldn't make it. I wanted to. Up until the day before, man, I was hoping that I'd be able to make it, but I didn't. So I've
Yeah.
never worked outside of the country. I've never wrestled outside of the country.
All right. How about the states? What states? I'm sure there's a bunch of them.
Uh, Nevada. Let's go from West Coast to here. California, Nevada, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina. I said Missouri already.
No,
Yeah, I said Missouri. I didn't.
I don't think
Missouri,
so.
Oklahoma. So basically, the South, probably 15 states. That's about it.
Which state did you like the most?
I like Texas, man.
Texas, really?
Yeah, the
What is it
fans
about Texas?
fans are different. The wrestling's a little bit different. It has bigger history and tradition.
Hmm.
Texas wrestling. I like Texas wrestling, but I love Louisiana too, but
Yeah.
I had the most fun outside of Louisiana in Texas. You know,
Hmm.
when I worked Arkansas, we worked a few shows. That was just a whole nother world. That was just like it didn't feel like it didn't just feel comfortable. It didn't feel
Did it feel
comfortable.
bigger? Like it was something bigger
The
there?
show, no, the show didn't feel any bigger. They felt smaller. Like they didn't have any
Really?
meaning. I was just wrestling. Like the shows didn't have any history behind them. At least
Ah,
225, the fans of 225 have a history. They know the history of each guy.
they
And
do.
those shows were spot shows. Like they were just trying to draw
Hmm.
money by just having wrestling there because it's never been there. So it's a totally different vibe. The fans who do show up, and they were small shows. God, they were small. I mean,
Hmm.
25 people, man. Like
Oh, wow.
horrible. Oh, I remember working in Orange, Texas, in front of 5 people, and two of them were fans. The other three come with wrestlers. No,
Oh,
seriously.
damn.
Oh yeah,
Really?
Orange, Texas. Maybe 5 people in the audience. Maybe.
Wow. Wow.
Oh yeah, it was
What
horrible. At the
what
Armory
got you
over there.
Oh, wow. What got you involved in Pro Wrestling 225? Because out of all the companies in Louisiana, they're really the youngest, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know how that happened, to be honest with you. I don't know if I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know if Mike uh Mustang invited me to come, or I don't know, man. I can't remember. I'll be
Wow.
honest with you. I
Yeah.
think my first match over there was with Stan Sweetan. We did a comedy match, and he
You did a comedy match?
he went under the ring. He turned into Superman, Super Stan, and he came out
I've seen that once.
and he had kryptonite, like I couldn't, he was super strong, and I chopped him and hurt my hand, and then I kicked him and I limped, and like he pinned me with his finger.
Oh, God, Gil.
Yeah. But Stan was like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "Man, let's make it easy."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we did like this comedy match, and it went off flawlessly. Like it really
Wow.
went off well. But like nobody would believe this guy, 225 pounds. I was pumped up a little more. I'd really been training hard, and I was
Hmm.
muscular. I was jacked up, and like nobody's gonna believe, Stan's gonna beat me. Like so I'm stomping the crap out of Stan, stomping the crap out of him. I mean, I'm stiffing him. I'm clotheslining him, stiffing him. I'm busting him up. He falls out the ring, and then he goes under the ring,
And
and
it
then he
comes
comes
out.
out, and he's got this cape on and the Superman outfit, and he's got his hands on his hips and his chest poked out. Like, oh, it's hilarious. Like, it might be online somewhere. And I
I'll let
chopped
you
him,
go find it.
and I chopped him, and I hurt my hands. And so I kicked him, and then I was like, and then he blew on me, and it knocked me off my feet.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never would have
Oh,
dreamed.
it
I
was a
never would have dreamed
horrible,
you'd have been
horrible
in that
start. But
match.
I was trying to have an easy date, like,
Yeah.
and Stan and I,
How'd the fans react?
oh, it was hilarious, man. They cheered because it was such a surprise,
Yeah.
like there were guys out there like standing and clapping because it was such a surprise the way it happened. Like, I mean, it was, you know,
But
but
like you said,
thankfully they forgot all of that.
yeah. Until
and they
now.
and,
Until
and they
now.
buy the Mad Dog gimmick.
Yeah. Until now. Now when you come out,
Right. Yeah. So
oh,
and but I really don't remember how I got in there. I don't know if the Pro Wrestling 225 called me. I don't know if Mustang called me. I don't know.
I'd have been both actually.
I don't know how, man. That's I don't remember. But
Well,
then they immediately put me in good matches. They put me in matches, and I don't know if they spoke to somebody who knew me and knew I was a good worker or whatever. But it didn't take me long before I was. doing high quality matches.
Right, right. Who's one of your favorite opponents?
Oh man, favorite opponents: Mustang Mike, Vordell, Christian Blake. Um, I mean, I got a lot of guys that I respect. My easiest opponent ever, easiest in the ring opponent ever was Joe Kane. I don't know if you know who he is.
No, I don't.
Guy from the Chalmette or Metairie or New Orleans area, a veteran, been around for a long time. And when I tell you it was the most eye-opening experience, because he's not a big guy,
Hmm.
but everything in the ring worked and was fluid and was like perfect. Like he was light as a feather, but he was like, it was just unbelievable, like a whole new world. It was the first eye-opening experience I had to the world of real professional wrestling, because he was the lightest, most easy guy to wrestle in the ring. It was crazy. Like it was
Wow.
almost like I dreamt the whole match, and then it was
Hmm.
all like dreamt it, and like it was crazy. But
That's
he was the that was the match that gave me the most respect for working light. You can work stiff or you can, but that one, like, I didn't, I never got winded. I never got winded. I barely
hmm.
broke a sweat, but we were out there for like 15 minutes. And
Wow.
like, it was crazy, but everything got over. And then I went in the back and I'm like, bro, did we just wrestle? Like, or did
Yeah,
I
did this
dream?
just happen?
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, man. He's like, great job. He's like, that's how everything's supposed to be. And I'm
Yeah.
like, my mind was just like blown. Like, what? Like I've been doing this wrong the whole time. Like, I've been making this athletic competition and like, and I didn't like it. I respected it
Right.
working that way, but I don't like it. I like to
Yeah.
work like an athletic competition. I want it to be hard. I want it to be taxing on my body. I want to be blown up. I want to be tired when I'm done. Like,
Hmm.
but he was like, that's how these guys wrestle 5 days a week. In the old days, it just
Right.
eat
Because
and
they,
slow. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's ridiculous. It was
I
crazy.
think I've seen a good bit of your matches in a year. I think I've only seen you actually tired after one match. And God, they're gonna hate me when I bring up where this was, but it was at the brewery. Uh,
Oh, that was a tag match, huh?
yeah, but I think what it was just so damn hot
Hot. Yeah, it was
in
hot.
there. Cause I remember I saw you and you was like, I gotta go step outside. And I was like, oh shit, is
Yeah, it was hot.
what's going on? Yeah. And I think that's the only time I've ever seen you like, wow, Gil's human,
Right.
Gil's a
Yeah.
human.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a hot event. They just had that one roll up door with no
Yeah.
ventilation.
And it was just small. It was a
Yeah,
good match. I enjoyed the match.
it was a bad idea. That whole show was a bad idea.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a bad idea. We'll
I'll
just
go
try to
with
forget that one.
yeah. I'll go with you on the bad idea for
We'll try
that.
to forget about it.
Yeah,
That guy, what was
that
his
didn't
name?
happen. What are you
Who's the
talking about,
promoter? Who's the promoter of that one? That was that what was that guy's name? Uh,
Ash? Ash, I think.
Ash, Cajun Nash, Cajun
Nerd,
Ash, whatever.
Cajun nerd. Yeah,
Cajun Nerd, whatever. I mean, he's a good guy, man. Him and his wife are
yeah.
nice people. He's
Oh
a good
God,
guy. He had an idea. He gave it a shot. He tried the best he could. It's just that it was it was a learning experience for him. The guy's really valuable to Pro Wrestling 225. If I were to promote events,
yes,
I'd definitely get him involved in a production capacity, because, yeah, like I told you, there's a place for everybody in pro wrestling.
yeah,
And but he just made a mistake as far as he wanted to promote. He was ambitious. He wanted to promote, but it was just a mistake. The venue was a bad
yeah. I don't
idea.
think it. I think where it actually happened when they put us, because we was back there with like the where they brew it and everything, and I don't think originally that's where it was how it's supposed to be set up. I think that was on him just all of a sudden.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Either way,
Yeah,
and it was a Sunday.
I
It
hate
was
Sunday
Sunday.
shows.
Sunday shows are garbage. I hate
Yes.
them.
But you know
I,
what's crazy though is it was only 50 people, but
but they
that's
were
all
loud.
they could hold. They were hot. They were hot. I don't know how drunk they were, but they were hot.
Yeah, they were loud.
They were definitely loud. I think that was the first time I saw Mexican Giant and his dad.
Right.
That was interesting. And I like Mexican Giant. I've met him. I like Mexican Giant. Cody Hawkins, I
Oh,
think, was in
yeah.
there.
Cody's gotten a lot better. Mexican Giant's gotten a lot better. He could, those are two guys that are limited by their genetic makeup.
Yes.
But they both can do good things in the ring if they
Cody
were
does a
both
lot of things that I wouldn't think he'd be able to do.
if they were both 6 foot tall, they could make a run and do something because they both have valuable things they do.
Hmm.
Mexican Giant's a brawler. Cody knows how to work. Cody does some good things in the ring. He slows down the match the right way. He prunes to the crowd at the right time, like he draws heat in a good way. I mean, those are two guys that are limited by their genetic makeup, like
Yeah.
they're both short, like there's something that has to be said for genetic luck.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, also, I think in that match it was you and Chase Bell against Avery and Wild Thing, and I think it was leading up to you and Wild Thing's championship match, is what it was,
Yeah.
if I
Okay.
remember correctly.
I,
Uh,
I, yeah, I think that was it. I can't remember.
yeah. Well, now you got me doubting myself.
I think that was it.
I think so, because Collision Course happened after that, and that was you
I
and
don't.
Wild Thing's match. I don't remember,
I don't
but
know.
I tell you one thing. I think Collision Course was decent. I think it could have been a whole lot better if that hurricane wouldn't have messed us up,
Right.
pushing us back and then once again it was a Sunday show. Uh, Man, that match with you and Wild Thing was really good. I enjoyed it a
We
lot.
yeah, I don't talk a lot about my matches like before a match. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like uh Wild Thing, there's the only one. Wild Thing's got he's doing a great job, and he's learning fast. It just hasn't clicked for him yet. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it didn't feel, it didn't feel like it just didn't feel great. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
didn't feel like we were doing anything special. You know what I mean? Like we got the point across, but it didn't feel like we had done anything special that night. That's one match I could honestly say like nothing went wrong, but it just
No.
didn't feel special. They didn't have a something that just make you want to jump out of your seat and and it has to do, I guess, with just his youthfulness in the business and experience. And not that I'm better than him or anything, but
Yeah.
we just didn't have that chemistry. We had the timing was good, but we just didn't have that chemistry. And it's hard for him to sell too. He sells, but he's bald headed. I'm bald headed. Like it was, I don't know, man. It just didn't feel like with the crowd, like we had the crowd.
And it wasn't just y'all's match that night. Or that day actually. That was like that. It was almost every one of the matches. I think the hottest match was Jordy and Mike White. I think,
Right,
but that had like a big build to it. I mean, that
right.
was really built big. Y'all's
And
build,
Jordy's good.
and
Jordy's a good,
everybody loves Jordy to death.
yeah.
The
So,
fan.
yeah, Jordan's doing good, and then Mike White's doing good. They both are, but Jordan's been in the business a while. He just took a lot of time off.
Well, not Jordan, Jordy.
Oh,
The
that was Jordy. Okay.
Jordy,
Oh,
yeah,
Jordy Pujo. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
Pujo, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
and
Jordy. Yeah, I remember that match now. Now I remember that. And
that
they
was like
didn't
the
do anything
build.
special. They did a really good job, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
considering I
remember
mean,
that match.
Jordy's not a trained wrestler. I mean, he's had a little bit, but
No,
not much. You know.
no, but he did what he was supposed to do. He didn't look like a professional. He looked like a guy who was fighting for his life. Who was fighting for his honor, and which is what the
Hmm.
whole point was. So they both did their job. They're
Yeah.
both, and Jordy's a good guy. I love Jordy, man. And
Oh
then
yeah.
and then Mike White's doing good. He's learning fast in the business of wrestling.
Hmm.
So he's learning. He's got a good passion for the business, I think.
Definitely. your style of wrestling. Did you? I mean, I have a good idea where it came from. A lot of it. Did you
Uh,
mold it after anybody like that you grew up watching, or anything like that, or is it all
I
your own?
well, when I run the ropes, if you notice, I run them like Muda. Like if you'll notice, like Great Muda used to. Okay, so Great Muda, Dynamite Kid,
Oh
Tiger
man,
Mask, Ric
yeah.
Flair. Those are my favorite wrestlers. So I like the intensity of a Dynamite Kid, how stiff it looked, how intense it looked. So I take that intensity. I like the style of Muda, how his athletic grace in the ring. So I'll run the ropes in that manner, and
Hmm.
it looks, some of the things I take. But for me, the style that I am now is just natural. Like everything I do is who I am,
Yeah.
like everything, whether it's talking on the mic, whether it's wrestling, whether it don't matter. I'm 100% me,
Hmm.
just dialed up a little bit. That's all I'm doing.
Right.
And that's why it's working. I'm not emulating anybody. I have idols that I emulated when I was younger. When I
Hmm.
was first broke into the business, I had the pants like Great Muda, and I did the karate gimmick and the mystical. I used to spit the fire sometimes, and
Oh wow.
but those are the things that I did when you're young and you're stupid, and then you eventually realize that wrestling is just who you are intensified.
Yeah.
That's where the success really comes. So Mad Dog Gil Gracie is me,
Yeah.
100%. It's just me dialed up 10,
Yeah.
dialed up 100, dialed up, and that's it. That's where the most success and the greatest things have happened in the last 5 years because it's just me. I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not trying to be anything else but me.
Right.
And that's all it is. I'm not emulating anybody's style. It's all me. That's what I
Where?
would do, and that's all I'm doing.
Yeah. Where did like your ring gear? You have the. I know sometimes you wrestle in it. Sometimes you just come out in the Punisher shirt, and then you
Right.
had the
The
sash that
sash,
you
the
use.
sash was my ode to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lineage. Like that is a belt. That is a belt. So I wear a red belt. I am not a red belt by any means, but I wear a red belt.
Yeah.
Um,
And you don't
and I
take it off, do you? I think you wrestle in.
know
Okay.
normally I do, but I dropped the sash about, I guess, last year.
Okay.
The Punisher skull is on all my stuff, so I keep that.
Okay.
Um, but man, it was just I had those boots were made. I bought from a guy in Mexico. I had him do a mask for me because I have a mask gimmick, and he did the mask for me,
Okay.
and it's beautiful mask. And he did the mask and those boots for me. And
Hmm.
so those boots I got from the guy in Mexico, and I have my mask sitting in my closet right now because I haven't broken out that gimmick yet. But
I haven't seen it.
well, I might eventually. You know,
Yeah.
I might. I don't know. I don't know.
That'd be
So
interesting.
we'll see what happens. So it's a beautiful mask though, man, and it was not expensive, but it's made
You
so.
almost hate not to wear it, huh?
I almost hate not to wear it. I wore it for WrestleMania weekend when WrestleMania was in New Orleans. I wore it for the
Okay.
weekend, and every top guy, every top luchador took pictures of me with the mask
Really?
because they respected the beauty of the mask. Bill Watts and I and Eric Watts sat down and had lunch, and he was like, "That is the beautiful mask."
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, and I marked out because Bill Watts to me is like a genius.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
big.
dude,
Bill
dude,
Watts is.
genius.
I mean, he's one of the. I guess almost like a founding father. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, he's a genius.
of what today is. I mean,
Right.
it went through him. Uh, when when did you when did you get hooked up with Ramp? Big Ramp.
Oh Lord, Pro Wrestling 225. I
Mm-hmm.
thought it would be a good idea for me to come out with a manager,
Mm-hmm.
and Ramp was in the back, and I don't know who he was representing, But he was in the back, and I'm like, I've never had a manager. I'm wrestling heel full time. I'll never go back to face. So
Right.
I thought it would be the best thing to have a top heel with a manager. The top heels always had a manager.
Yeah.
So I approached Ramp and I was like, hey man, look, you mind managing me tonight? Let's see what happens. Because it was just an experiment. I wanted to change the gimmick up. The Mad Dog gimmick was coming in, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing it right. And it worked. It worked from the start. Like,
Yeah.
and that's all it was, man. I approached him in the locker room, like, dude, I need a manager. I think I need a manager. I'm changing everything up. I need a manager. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm the one, boss. So I'm like, all right, let's go.
I love it. I think y'all do great together. I get
Our
out of
our our interviews, our promos are the best. So
Oh,
we do a
dude.
really
Yeah.
good job. I mean, he does a great job. We do a good job together. And that's another part of the Mad Dog success is having that manager, Big Ramp, having that Big Ramp manager that worked, and it worked, and it continues to work. And
Yeah.
so we're gonna ride it till the wheels fall off.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, man, you lost the title. Uh, gosh, dog it. What event was that? The last one we had
What was that?
in
March Madness?
March Madness. You lost the title to Corey Constantine.
Yep.
My God. Look, I don't catch myself really like focused on a match. Like 100%, I don't see or hear nothing else around me except what's going on in that ring. And y'all did it from start to finish. Y'all did it. Now,
Right.
I will say this. I've always enjoyed watching you wrestle. I've enjoyed watching Corey. I've gotten to know Corey some. I've gotten to know you here and there. So that had a lot to do with it. But that's not what got me. I mean, y'all, to me, that was like the match. And I think I even said this could be, I think whenever I was promoting some stuff with it, I was like, this is going to be history in the making. This is going to be a big time deal. And it felt that way. The fans felt it. I mean, I've never
Right.
heard those fans that loud.
Yeah, they were loud,
Never.
man. They really,
Wow.
and I think they were loud because Corey came into the title, but they were loud because I think they respect. I'm in a unique position because I think the fans respect what I do, and
Yes.
they get confused. Sometimes they don't know whether to cheer me or to boo me, but they always respond and clap for the effort and the performance and everything that I do because I put 100% effort out no matter what.
Yeah.
But that match, Corey's grown as a wrestler, man. He got to the point where he's got the title now. We're gonna have another match, a rematch, I think in August.
Yeah. It was supposed to happen at 225 Mania actually in Doyle.
Right.
And of course all this happened and it got pushed back. So I think we're shooting
Yeah.
for August now.
Right. I think it's August. I wanted a little bit more time. I didn't want to have my first match back after this coronavirus thing. Be with Corey. I like to get in good condition and be in good shape and stuff. But then Pro Wrestling 225 was like it's an immediate rematch. So they had kind of tossed it around a little bit that I might, we might do it a show after this. We wouldn't do it the first show back.
Right.
But
Right.
but then I spoke to them and they were like, oh, let's just do it this time. Let's try to because fans want to see it. So I'm like, okay, we'll do it. But I got to really start fast tracking training. I think today's the first day that they opened up workouts and
Yes,
stuff.
the first day the gyms have opened.
So I got to fast track training because I want to do the best I can.
Yeah.
I definitely want to beat Corey for my title. I'd be the third time champ. But man, to be honest with you, like I don't have anything but goodwill toward Corey. Corey's a good worker. Corey did the best he could. That night he had help from three guys came out to help.
Well,
So
me
hey,
and Rip
look,
kind of got into it on that,
well, what's the truth though? Three guys
They
came
came out. They came out.
One guy pushed me off the top.
You landed on your feet, I think.
No, I landed on my side. I landed on my side. And then Corey was able to respond, hit me with the finisher. I kicked out once, maybe twice, I don't
You
know.
kicked out twice, man. You
And
kicked
then
out.
it just got to be, it was just too much for me to handle that night. But um, let's just talk like legit. Corey has turned into a good wrestler.
Yes.
That's one guy I don't mind in a position where I drop the title to him. I don't like losing the title. I don't like not being the champion. I
Oh,
think
I know that. I know
I
that.
feel naked without the title, but you know,
It does look
I
weird. It looks weird. I'm not gonna lie to you. It
it
does.
looks weird somebody else holding the title. It really
Yeah,
does.
it
But
does. It's
let's see what happens. He's got it right now. Is he doing the job of a champion? Is he promoting the championship? Is he promoting the champion's lifestyle? Is he promoting Pro Wrestling 225? Is he doing what I did when I had the title for almost 3 years? Is anybody going to do that? If they're not going to do it, then I need to be in the title mix and I need to win my title back. Because if they're not going to do what I've done, if they're not going to put legitimacy to the title, if they're not going to defend the title and carry that title around to every organization that they wrestle in, then why are they your champion? So the bottom line is, if I get my title back, or when I get my title back, hopefully in the meantime, between now and then, he's doing what he's supposed to do as a champion. If not, he don't deserve to be champion.
hmm
He's a good wrestler. He's doing a good job wrestling. He's learning. He had a fantastic performance. But I mean, Pro Wrestling 225 has to understand that there's a lot more to being champion than just having a good night and winning a title.
Right, right. I think we'll know more once all this Corona stuff is done with.
Yeah, well, no, I mean,
Exactly.
I gotta get in shape, man. It's been a
Yeah.
long time. I haven't trained at all. I haven't done anything. The gyms have been closed. I haven't even worked out at home. I haven't run.
Oh
I haven't,
wow.
I've done nothing, man. I haven't done anything athletic
You
since
on
March.
vacation, man? You on
I
vacation?
was so what? There's 60 days, 2 months since March Madness. I haven't done anything.
Wow.
Uh,
I will say this. I don't. Did you see me and Ramp's interview? I don't know if you was able to chance to catch it or
No,
not.
I haven't seen it.
That's fine. Ramp blamed it on Corey's face paint. He said that you were allergic to the face paint.
Yeah, well, I don't know about all that. you know, so
Look,
I got two ways. I got two ways of saying this. You know, sure, the face paint weakened me. All right, that's all bullshit.
yeah,
Yes,
I know. I called him out on it.
Corey,
I called him out
Corey,
on
Corey has progressed to the point where he deserved a chance at the title.
it.
All right, let's just put it out there. He
Yeah.
deserves a chance at the title. He's got the opportunity. He beat me. He's got the opportunity to wear the title. He needs to live up to be up to the task of being champion. He's got to do certain things. If he
Yes.
doesn't do certain things, they're going to put him in matches where he's going to have to wrestle guys like me who are proven to be able to do what's necessary as a champion. So this is his opportunity. Truthfully, he beat me. He deserves the title. He beat me. His performance was great. He's an athlete. He's got a good look. The fans paid attention. So
Yes.
is it good for Pro Wrestling 225? Is it good for business? It's good for business right now for Corey to be champion, but he has a job to do.
Well, we're gonna see. We don't know. We don't know completely yet.
Well, we don't know. I mean, is he
For
doing
that
what
one, for that
he's
one
done as
night,
a
it was
champion?
great.
And the crowd loved it. Uh, Mustang Mike, Purple Haze, and Wild Thing made sure that he won the title. So it's good for business right now. The crowd loved it, but to sustain hatred or love for an extended period of time takes a different kind of person.
Yes.
I excelled at being the champion for nearly 3 years, and the fans didn't get tired of it. Okay, so that's a very important thing. So, as a fan favorite, how long can he hold the title before the fans just get aggravated that he's the champion? How long before you have mediocre matches? There is always something they remember about my matches. Always something.
Yes.
I kept it fresh and I kept it innovative and I kept the fans into it. And I did my job as a champion. That's what everybody should do as a champion.
hmm
So I know I have a track record. I know what I can do. I know that I'm good for business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Let me ask you this. I don't know if you noticed this or not. Whenever the match was over, do you know that y'all got a standing ovation after that
no, I
match?
didn't realize that.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Standing ovation.
That's
Uh,
good.
Now I don't know how much of it was for Corey winning or the match itself. I think it was everything
Well,
myself.
yeah.
That's
Hopefully,
what
I
I
think it's
think.
for
I
both.
think. Oh no, no, I don't think it's just because Corey won. I think it was just so. I'm telling you, dude. I had like I got chills whenever
Really,
it was all.
that's awesome.
Yes, when it was going on, just the atmosphere and everything about it. It was
Well,
it was great.
I got some messages from a bunch of different fans that said how great they thought it was. But
Yes.
it's fans, man. I take it with a grain of salt.
But that's
Like
what you're doing it for. Is
that's exactly why you do it.
so yeah. So if they look, them telling you that, it to me is almost more than maybe hearing it from another wrestler.
Right, right.
Possibly.
It,
And
it
for a
matters.
different
It
reason. For a
matters both
different reason.
ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
For a
matters
different
both ways.
reason. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad it went over. That's the way it did, as well as it did. I was kind of, you know, I didn't know how good of a match it was going to be because I knew Corey had come into his own as a wrestler, but I didn't know, I just didn't know if he would be able to, and not, I don't want to say keep up with me because that would be the wrong thing to say,
right.
but I just didn't know if he was ready. You know what I'm saying?
I was
Like,
curious of how y'all would gel.
right. That was another
That's
thing. This is our first time ever wrestling together.
that's what I was fixing to ask you. I didn't think that
So
y'all had wrestled before.
we had never wrestled before. That was our first time. And if we did wrestle sometime, I don't remember it, but
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
I don't think we ever wrestled before. So that
Right.
was another thing. Like I was just didn't know how we were going to mesh, like if the styles wouldn't match,
Hmm.
But the only thing that happened during the match is he was working fast, he was wrestling fast, and that's something that every guy needs to work on. You don't want to push the pace so hard that you lose the focus of what you're doing.
Right.
And a couple of times he was wrestling fast. He wasn't grasping the moment. The fans
Hmm.
weren't seeing or behind what he was doing. And you got to end up slowing down to make everything you do more effective. You know,
Right.
so.
It,
But
let me
as
ask.
far as deserving it, I think he's ready to be. I mean, he just he's it's sooner or later you have to have a bad night, so to speak.
Right. Right. Right.
And he got it. He got the title, man. It's just I hope that I can get to the point where I'm in shape enough and everything goes well for the next show that we could do something as good as we did before.
Oh man, I've kind of coined the phrase. Y'all, that was to me the greatest match in Pro Wrestling 225 history.
Oh wow.
Uh, and in my opinion, now it's only a year that I've been involved.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, and I've seen a lot of the older stuff too now. But as far as like being there, being invested, as like fans get,
Right.
I've said, could this be the greatest rematch in Pro Wrestling 225 history? Only
That's a
time will
lot to
tell
live
on
up
that.
to.
Only time will tell. Only time will
That's a
tell.
that's a lot to live up to,
Look, man, I can tell you,
especially
it's got two.
especially when I haven't been in shape and I got a long way to go.
I have no doubt in you, man. And because y'all did, I saw what I wanted to see. I wanted to see how y'all would gel together.
Right.
It shocked me, really. I mean, I was not expecting it to be. I knew it was going to be exciting. Don't get me wrong, but just I wasn't expecting to get drawn in like I did.
Right.
I really
Right. Well,
wasn't.
that's
I
good.
really wasn't.
At least we did that. We did our part. That I guess that's one of the things that scares you. You just don't. You want to make sure that people appreciate what you've done.
Right.
And
Right.
you want, like I said, you want to create memories every time you go out there. So that's meaningful for me because that's exactly what we did for certain people.
Hmm.
So it's rewarding to know that you did your job, and you did it correctly, even if it's just one time in your career, that you did something
Yeah,
right.
you did
You
something
see,
good. Yeah.
like, so that's important. So it's important that people think that.
Yeah.
It's a lot to live up to when you go back, August, whatever the date is, that we have
Yeah.
to run it back again in a rematch. It's a lot to live up to, especially all this time off, your timing, the rust building up, uh, not training as much as I used to, and having to get back and actually put one foot in the other and start training again. I got to start running. I got to start, biking. I got to start weightlifting. I got to get back
You sound
fit.
so
And
excited.
man, I'm lazy, man. I don't want to do anything.
Oh man,
I just want to eat and
eat.
just watch TV and sleep.
I'm with you, man.
That's all.
Yeah, I read some of an old interview you did. Somehow I found it, and apparently you enjoy reading.
I
Uh,
do. I used to a lot
yeah.
more than I do now. I read a lot of comics now, man. I love
Really?
comics. I
Oh wow.
used to read a lot of science fiction, and then I got into the part where I read a lot of historical stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
I like actual true bios or autobiographies or biographies, but I like history. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like reading a lot of things, historical stuff that people don't realize because there's a lot of stuff to presidencies, to government that most people don't know, you know, and there's a
Right.
lot of things about the FBI, the CIA, wars, how they came about, the backstory in wars, you know. So
Right. Right.
I used to read a lot of history, autobiographies, biographies, but now lately I read a lot of comics, man, and that's
Really?
for
What
about
com-
3 years.
what
Yeah,
comics you
man,
read?
Batman's the best. I read all the graphic.
Batman. Oh wow.
I read all the graphic novels of Batman because something about Batman. He's the most published superhero there is, and there's so many variations on the character.
There is. I didn't realize it until I guess until like the first ever Batman came out. I guess it was the 80s. I might be dating
Right,
myself now.
right,
Because at the time I didn't realize they had just an all black Batman
right.
until that happened.
Well, I mean, and if you get into the graphic novels, there's so many different stories. Like there's one where he went back to feudal Japan, where there were samurais and stuff. Like he went back in time, and there's just so many. There's
Wow.
Batman from like the Victorian age, he went back in where he didn't actually go back in time. I think his father, grandfather, great grandfather, one of them, you know, brought in another Batman. And then there's another graphic novel where Thomas Wayne, his father, was actually Batman in another one. And there's so
Oh
many
wow.
different graphic novels with so many variations of Batman. That's my favorite. But I'll read any graphic novel. I like extended graphic novels. So I like
So
that.
it's
I read
not necessarily comics anymore. It's almost like you said, a graphic novel now. It's not like
graphic
the old
novels.
school
That's
comic
mostly
books.
comics. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
not necessarily the old school, but just they're the comics, but they're graphic novels. They're
Yeah.
500 pages of a
Oh wow.
story instead of like a 24-page monthly comic. I don't like those. I like
Yeah.
if they're going to do a monthly comic and then a story goes for 12 issues, take the 12 issues, combine them into the manual, and then let me read that story arc. That's
Right.
what I, yeah,
So you're like in that moment the whole time. It's not
the
like,
whole time.
okay,
Yeah,
let me wait the next month to get
I'm
this.
not
Oh,
waiting
let me go back
30
and read
days.
it. Yeah.
I'm not waiting 30 days for the next episode. Yeah.
I hear you.
I'll forget
Uh,
about
yeah, you said you like historical stuff. There's an author that I like actually. His name is Clive Cussler, I think. Have you ever heard of
it.
him?
Yeah, he does the spy stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, but he usually bases it all around historical
Historical
stuff.
fiction.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Right.
I don't know if you've ever read any of his stuff. Dirt Pit is his main character, I believe.
Right.
Definitely, if you haven't checked it out, check it out. And also, you ever heard of Robert B. Parker?
No.
He does a lot of he's the one that wrote the Spencer novels. It's kind of like detective stuff, but
Okay.
he does.
Spencer for Hire and all that.
I think that's where they pulled it from. Yeah,
Right.
and he also does like a Jesse Stone novel. He
Robert,
has several.
what's the actor's name? Robert Urich was the actor's name from Spencer for Hire. His name was Robert Urich.
Okay, I do think it's based on him. It
Right.
takes place in Boston and stuff like that. That's really good. And what I like about it is he has short chapters, which is perfect for me because I don't like ending a book or not ending, but putting a book down if I'm in the middle of a chapter. That
Right.
that is like a big novel reading pet peeve of mine. I have to finish that chapter. If I've tried it, I've been tired, put a book down and like laid there in bed going, man, I gotta finish the chapter. And I will sit, I will sit
Right.
there until I grab it and finish reading it. But it's short chapters. The main characters are smart asses, which I love that.
Right.
And so, but yeah, that's some guys to check out if you haven't yet, uh, and everything. I didn't realize you was big into reading.
Well,
It's something that's
I'm
lost. It's
I'm
lost
not
today.
anymore,
Hmm.
I'm not anymore. I really don't have the time, but I do have on my tablet, I have about 7 graphic novels that I'm in the process of reading. And then but
All the time.
I don't read as much as I used to.
Yeah, it's hard. So once you get kids and stuff, it's
Yeah.
really
I
hard.
mean, my whole
I'm a
my whole
bathroom reader now. I mean
oh no,
that's yeah, that's what I've turned
no,
into.
not me. I'm in and out, cuz I don't have enough time. Like, dude, I was in and out. Literally, I spend maybe a minute. I'm done. I'm gone.
Damn,
Oh
damn.
yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah. I don't go in unless it's ready to plop.
I need to get some of that stuff you own. Then some of
Oh
that
yeah.
Lifeblood.
Oh no. Oh no. It comes out fast and often.
And also,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
oh,
yeah.
I hear you.
I
Now
don't I
we're
don't
both telling
have
our ages.
I don't spend I don't spend a lot of time in the bathroom.
I hear you.
Oh no.
Boy,
Fast and often.
let's see. We've covered from where you started to bathroom
Right.
in this
Right.
interview.
Exactly. And now I'm about to cover something else. I'm starving over here. I'm about
Oh,
to
I
go
hear
eat.
you. I hear. Well, we've almost been 3 hours, so I guess we
Oh
need
my
to.
God.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
we
think
need to
there's.
wrap this up.
Yeah, I still think there's a lot more. I mean, I'd hope to sit down with you
There
again.
is a lot to cover, man. I'd like to talk to you more. Like I tell you what, man, we will talk some more. I got my own podcast will be coming out. But this is where and this is the difference. I want to talk to athletes in our industry or people like you, and
Mm.
we talk about life
Oh
things
yeah,
happening right now. But we take athletics, athletes from MMA, boxing, professional wrestling, or guys like you, and do 3 or 4 guys with the round table where we're all talking about things. And wherever the conversation leads, it leads.
yeah. That's the best ones.
No strict format, but just leads. And
Hmm.
maybe we could have a 20 questions portion of it where the same 20 questions are asked every time
Right,
and then
right.
get into all the other. But anyway, I feel like this kind of thing it actually gives me peace, man. I feel like I've talked and I've released stress almost. Like
Yeah,
it feels good
that's
to
good.
actually, that's how I've always used it in that manner. And I haven't had my podcast in so long. But as soon as we move to the new house, I'll have my whole podcast room done.
Yeah, you got me jealous now. I got to
Well, I
sell my
have my
place and
noise
buy me a new
suppression stuff.
place.
I have all my noise suppression stuff up. I have the lighting done. I have my backgrounds done, and it'll actually be an obligated area for the podcast. So,
Yeah, that'd be
I'll
awesome.
get that back and then get that going and see what happens, man. And
Well,
I'm
Gil,
just trying to live a life worth living.
I hear you, brother. I hear you, and I think this is actually. I mean, we've talked like in groups a lot, but never. You're usually busy. I'm usually busy on show day, and I always try to make my point to come up to you and tell you, hey,
Right.
for sure, And I know the first couple times, like, man, who the hell's this guy running around here?
I'm just always leery of people who aren't in the business.
Oh,
Like I'm
yes, yes.
always leery of people. You
And I
don't
don't
want to.
consider myself in the business. I mean, I don't. I haven't
Well,
done nothing.
that's just
So,
it. I'm always leery of people who are not in the business because you don't. Everybody thinks they're smart, and you don't want to smarten people up. You want to. I believe that people don't need to know all the intricacies and the ins and outs of what we do, and you find guys just hanging out like trying to be that don't belong in the group. Like if you're
right.
not in the industry or somebody hasn't brought you into the industry, you got all these hangers on, and when I'm confused, I'm like, I put a wall up. So
Yeah.
it could have
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
that, most likely that. I
I never took any of it to it didn't hurt my feelings at all. I don't know if you ever I've helped set up some stuff like
right. No, I've seen
get
you before, and I
the
know
back
what
trying to
you
get
do.
the back yeah,
But the
trying to get
first couple of times, I'm always going to keep maintain distance from people until somebody either approaches you with them, or we find a way that I know that you're a member of our circle.
Yeah, and I still, and like I said, I still don't feel comfortable. Like I said, me and somebody was setting up the entrance, and as soon as we got it done, everybody started coming in because that's actually the dressing room also. And I told somebody, I was like, man, I got to get out of here. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, I don't belong back here. And they're like,
Right.
oh man, yeah, you're one. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm
Well,
not. I'm
that's
not.
not a bad way to feel. I guess that's
Yeah,
a respectful way to feel because I don't like guys hanging around, that shouldn't be hanging around.
yeah.
I just,
It's not. It's
I believe there's a limit to fan interaction. They have a place, and
yep.
I have a place, and you need to respect that, and you
Mm-hmm.
know that's how it should be.
Yep, definitely.
Very
Well,
simple.
yeah. Well, Gil, I'm gonna. I mean, do you have anything else that you want to put out there or
No, no, I
no?
just want. I don't know, man. I just like I said, man. Like we said earlier in the night, I guess just the person you see is the person I am. I'm not trying to be anybody else.
Okay.
I'm legit. And if any wrestler out there has $1,500 that they want to put up, they think they're tough guys. I will drive to your gym, put the gloves on, and I will whip your ass and I'll leave. And I don't like bullies or tough guys, and I make it a life's mission to take them out. So
There
any
you
of
go.
y'all out there that think you can take an old man, please let me know. I would love to come to your gym and smash you.
Is there anything that you want people to like where they can get some merch or anything like that? You got
Well, I
anything
don't
set
have
up?
all my merch, but this is one of my shirts right here, and
I like it.
those will be done and on sale sometime. I'll put it out on the internet. Wild Thing and Pro Wrestling 225. Wild Thing had, he makes his own. He has some kind of deal with shirts, so I
Yeah.
talked to him. He's getting some shirts helped out. Like, so we'll have some shirts with Mad Dog at the next show.
Okay.
But it's hard for a heel to sell merchandise, because I'm never out there talking to the fans. So it's hard for
Right.
me to sell merchandise. I had my daughter selling for me one time. They sold like 6 shirts in a night, and that was nice.
Yeah.
But I'm a heel. I'm a bad guy. I don't like talking to the fans.
I
So,
don't blame you.
you know,
I mean,
it's
that's
hard for
how it
me to
is.
sell merchandise as a heel.
Yep. Well, Gil, I've enjoyed this tremendously. Anytime you want to come back on the show, you're more than welcome. I look forward to seeing the rematch. I look forward to see if you can get your championship belt back. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm gonna do
Uh,
the best I can, man. I just got to get in shape, dude.
I
I
hear
am like I haven't worked out in 2 months. I haven't run. I haven't trained. I think I did 10 push-ups last night, and that's
how'd that
like
go?
the only. It didn't go well. It didn't go
Hey,
well.
look, you can
So
do 10 more than I can do.
I did 10 push-ups before I jumped in the bathtub last night.
There you go.
Because
You got to soak them muscles, man. You got to.
I looked in the mirror and I was like, not bad, but it's not. I'm not
Always be
wrestling.
better.
Oh, it could always be better. So I was embarrassed enough that I put 10 push-ups in before I took a bath.
Wow,
So
wow.
yeah, that was my first workout. 10
Oh,
push-ups last night.
hey, you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, so that's it.
Guys, everybody out there, I hope y'all enjoyed this as much as I did doing it. Always go out there, support your local businesses and everything, especially at times like this. My name is CJ Goodspeed of Goodspeed Entertainment. This right here is the Mad Dog, Gil Gracie, 2-time Pro Wrestling 225 heavyweight champion. Gil, I've enjoyed it tremendously, more than I thought I would. I appreciate it. You're always welcome back.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
You take it easy, brother.
All right, bro.
Later, guys.
Later.